The video you played shocked Harry Potter, Ron Weasley, and Neville Longbottom, and you can get a reward, Magic plus 30. Well, the magic power has increased by 350. In fact, for Zhongdong, the magic power increase is more practical than anything else. The video you played shocked Draco Malfoy, and you can get a reward, Stick in Front Teeth, Intermediate. The video you played shocked Hermione Granger, and you can get a reward, Ancient Runes, Elementary. Malfoy's Stick in Front Teeth is average, but Hermione. We have only been in school for a few days, and you have already reached the elementary level of Ancient Runes? Did you secretly read books again during the holidays? Zhongdong took a deep look at Hermione beside him, and Hermione looked at Zhongdong beside him in confusion. Why does he look at me like this? He doesn't know that I studied Ancient Runes hard during the holidays in order to surpass him this year. Feeling guilty, Hermione lowered her head and drank the sweet soup in the bowl with a spoon, looking like she knew nothing. However, Zhongdong is a soul master. Looking at Hermione's inner voice, Zhongdong shook his head helplessly. My little Hermione who has been strong all her life. Zhongdong did not expose Hermione's little thoughts, but looked directly at the rewards behind. The video you played shocked Rubius Hagrid, and you can get a reward, Magi Zoology, Advanced. Magi Zoology Advanced? Okay, this level can pass the NEWT exam. Even after graduation, you can stay in school to teach. The video you played popularized the science of magical animals, hippogriffs, and you can get rewards, Patroness Charm, Patroness, Hippogriff. Patroness? Hippogriff? Although Zhongdong likes his Nemean lion very much, hippogriffs seem to be good too. After collecting all his rewards, Zhongdong enjoyed his dinner with satisfaction. At this time, in the corner of the Hogwarts cafeteria, a big black dog was enjoying spinning a meat pie into his mouth, feeling the mellow fragrance of the meat pie, and the black dog showed humane enjoyment. I really should thank these house elves for their efforts. They always make so many delicious things. Sirius sighed. Although he looked rather down and out now, compared to his days in Azkaban, this place was simply heaven. While Sirius was enjoying his meal, a cute blue and white kitten was flying around above his head, looking around. Occasionally, it would take out a few grilled fish from the plates that the house elves had just made and enjoy them happily. It looked more comfortable than himself. Is that Zhongdong's pet cat? Sirius remembered that when he met Zhongdong yesterday, he seemed to have brought this cute kitten with him. Zhongdong and Harry were roommates, Harry and Ron were roommates, and that stinky wife disguised Asrin's pet, although he asked the girl's cat to help, but think about it carefully, the girl doesn't live with Harry and the others, and it seems a bit troublesome for her cat to kill the stinky mouse. Thinking of this, Sirius also waved his paws at Yumi in the sky. Woof woof woof. Woof woof. Oh woof woof. Hello, cute cat, nice to meet you. Although I don't know why a dog like me can communicate with a cat, but since I can chat with Crookshanks, this seemingly unusual cat must be able to do it. However, listening to Sirius's barking, Yumi first tilted his head to look at it, and then said, "Can you speak human language?" Hey! Sirius was stunned for a moment, and he fluttered his ears, feeling as if he had heard it wrong. He looked around and confirmed that no one saw him. Then he turned into a human form and looked at Yumi in shock and said, You can talk." Yumi looked at Sirius in confusion and said as a matter of course. Is it strange? It really didn't understand why people here were so surprised to see it talking. If it was in its world, let alone cats talking, rats, cows, tigers, rabbits, dragons, snakes, monkeys, and chickens could all talk. Let alone animals, even stones and trees can speak. Okay. Sirius was a little embarrassed. He could only say that it was worthy of being the pet of that magical boy. Even a cat was so extraordinary. Thinking of this, Sirius looked at Yumi with a smile and said, "Kitten, can I? My name is Yumi." "Okay, Yumi, can you do me a favor?" "No. To read the novel, go to Novel Network." "Sirius. Damn, did I lose my affinity with animals once I turned back to human form? Obviously, I was quite popular with cats when I was chatting with Crookshanks." However, Sirius still said with emotion and reason, "I may not have made it clear. Your master is in danger now. The mouse in your dormitory is a transformed evil man. He may hurt you at any time. Yumi will protect my master." Yumi said obediently. "But he is very strong. Sirius continued. According to his experience, you must have enough patience to chat with cats. Yumi asked curiously, how strong is he? Just a little weaker than me. Sirius said confidently. He still had some confidence. Peter had never been his opponent since he was a child. As soon as Sirius finished speaking, a missile flew out of Yumi's body. This missile flew out of the window of Hogwarts and landed on the Quidditch field not far away. Boom! Accompanied by a roar, a huge hole with a radius of more than 10 meters appeared on the originally flat Quidditch field. Sirius! Sirius almost dropped his jaw when he saw this scene. My goodness, this little cat actually has such terrible power. The power of this missile. It is not weaker than the advanced Thunderbolt explosion. And Yumi said quietly, this is just one of my small skills, and it has not been fully upgraded. Do you think I can deal with that mouse? Sirius! Wormtail, oh Wormtail, I don't believe you won't die if you meet such a cat this time. At the entrance of the hunting lodge, Zhang Dong was reading a book on the history of British magic. After all, he could learn other subjects by himself, but he still had to learn this kind of pure liberal arts by himself. However, Zhang Dong himself also liked reading these magical histories, which were as interesting as reading novels. To be honest, it was much more interesting to read it by himself than to listen to Professor Bin's lectures. It was just that the times were not good. Otherwise, Zhang Dong would definitely ask AI to translate it into an audiobook for him, and the effect would probably be much more interesting than Professor Bin's hoarse and weak rote reading. Hey, hey! Hermione came to Zhang Dong while panting. Seeing the panting Hermione, Zhang Dong summoned a bottle of iced pumpkin juice and handed it to her, then asked, why are you so tired? After taking the iced pumpkin juice and taking a big sip, Hermione, who had recovered, looked at Zhang Dong unhappily and said, you're still asking me? I want to ask you, you've also taken all the courses, why do you look so relaxed? Hermione opened the school bag in her arms while speaking. Looking through the gap in the school bag, there were at least a dozen thick books in it. Zhang Dong could tell at a glance that these were all textbooks for various subjects this semester. He secretly weighed them and found that the weight of a book was 3.2 jins, and a dozen books would weigh almost 50 jins. No wonder Hermione was so tired after running around Hogwarts with more than 50 jins of weight on her back every day. Looking at Hermione like this, Zhang Dong smiled and stretched out his hand, fly over here, the monster books of the monsters. Swish! With 3 breaths, a thick monster book flew from the sky into Zhang Dong's hands. Hermione! Genius or something, I hate it the most. Looking at the angry Hermione, Zhang Dong shook the monster book in his hand and said in a tempting voice. Come with me tonight, I will teach you the spell of summoning. The intermediate spell of summoning is enough to summon a book in Hogwarts. With Hermione's talent, it shouldn't take too much time. However, after hearing Zhang Dong's words, Hermione's attention was completely focused on another place. Swoosh! Isn't that a spell that can only be learned next year? It's over. It seems that I have no hope of getting the first place in the spells exam next year. Zhang Dong! No, why are you always thinking about that first place? Of course, that's what he said, but Zhang Dong will definitely not give her the first place directly. For Hermione's strong personality, if you want to make her happy, you either have to be a dog-like boyfriend or conquer her in all aspects. Zhang Dong didn't want to be down there, so he chose the latter. At this time, other little wizards also came here. Today is Hagrid's magical creatures class, and because Zhang Dong had played Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them before, more and more students are interested in magical creatures, so the number of students gathered here today is twice that of the students in the divination class. It seems that Hagrid will be very happy today. And looking at so many people, especially seeing Malfoy in the crowd, Hermione frowned and whispered. I don't know what Hagrid will talk about in this class. I hope it's not about hippogriffs. Zhang Dong understood what Hermione was thinking. The light curtain had predicted that Malfoy would be injured in today's magical creatures class and Hagrid and Buckbeak would also be implicated, so Hermione naturally didn't want Hagrid to get into trouble. However, based on Zhang Dong's understanding of Hagrid, this guy would never change his mind so easily. He wanted to prove himself with a wonderful magical creatures class, and he almost succeeded. If Malfoy hadn't been injured in the end, his magical creatures class would definitely compete with Lupin's defense against the dark arts class for the most popular course for young wizards this year. Sure enough, seeing the little wizards gathered, Hagrid said excitedly, Come on. Everyone. Hurry up. Buckbeak and the others can't wait to see you. What? Malfoy almost screamed. He thought that Hagrid would definitely restrain himself after seeing the light curtain before coming to class, but he didn't expect that this guy really didn't have any lessons. Hearing Malfoy's voice, Harry on the side couldn't help but say, Malfoy, if you are afraid, go back quickly. Hagrid's class is an elective course, and you can quit. Who wants to quit? Malfoy looked at Harry stubbornly. What a joke. He is Draco Malfoy. How can he admit that he is afraid? In front of Harry Potter. However, after hearing Malfoy's words, Hagrid praised him excitedly. Very good. Very brave. You are just like a Gryffindor. Who are you calling Gryffindor? Malfoy rolled his eyes at Hagrid. He didn't think this was a compliment. Hagrid was not angry either. He just led everyone to the Forbidden Forest, and then shouted, calling all the hippogriffs who were still resting around. It was also the first time for Zhongdong to observe these hippogriffs up close. I have to say that hippogriffs are actually quite beautiful. They are not just the same as Buckbeak in the movie, but the hair color of each hippogriff is different. There are storm-like grey, arctic snow-like white, cherry blossom-like pink, and a pure black like ink, all of which look particularly beautiful and handsome. Standing in front of these hippogriffs, Hagrid rubbed his hands excitedly and said cheerfully, Come on, you all saw the precautions of yesterday's light screen clearly, let's go straight to the actual combat, who wants to try it? Me. Harry raised one of his hands impatiently. After seeing yesterday's light screen, he had long wanted to try the beautiful sight of riding Buckbeak and flying over Hogwarts. No, not only Harry, but also Ron, Seamus, and several other Gryffindors raised their hands. To read the exciting novels, go to Novel Network. Very good. Hagrid said happily. He was very satisfied with the enthusiasm of his classmates, so he stretched out his hand and fell on a student who did not raise his hand, Malfoy. It's decided to be you. Come on. Try it. Draco Malfoy? Malfoy was dumbfounded. He stared at the big fool in front of him, then gritted his teeth and asked. You? Are you sure you are calling me? Malfoy didn't want to go up, but what could he do? So many students were watching. How could he, the heir of the Malfoy family, back down because of this? Let's fight. Malfoy stepped forward and came to Buckbeak in the front. Ouch! When Buckbeak chirped, Malfoy felt his legs trembling. Malfoy, don't forget to salute. Hagrid reminded him. However, Malfoy shouted to Hagrid, I know. I don't need your reminder. Although Malfoy hated Buckbeak in front of him very much, he still chose to listen to Hagrid's words and bowed deeply to Buckbeak. Looking at Malfoy's movements, Ron on the side couldn't help but secretly said, I dare say this guy must have practiced secretly last night. Harry also nodded silently. This movement was much more standard than his own. Malfoy heard Harry and Ron's muttering, but he couldn't do anything about it. A good man never suffers a loss in front of him. Although he believed that his father would definitely avenge him if he was injured, but then again, who would want to get hurt if they could avoid it? Who would do something that would hurt the enemy by 1,000 and hurt themselves by 800? But it can be seen that although Malfoy is proud, he is completely different from Voldemort. If it were Voldemort now, he would definitely complete this ride well, and then let his men come to provoke Buckbeak and then be injured by Buckbeak. In this way, he would not get hurt, and he could also take revenge on Hagrid and Buckbeak. But Malfoy never thought of this. Very good. Hagrid's nervous heart also relaxed. He was also afraid that Malfoy would be stubborn and still commit suicide like in the light curtain. He was ready. As long as Malfoy had a bad breath, he would knock Malfoy down with one punch. It's better for him to be scolded than Buckbeak to die. Thinking of this, Hagrid said to him with satisfaction, Very good Malfoy. It's time for you to ride it. Okay. Malfoy wanted to refuse, but he thought again, if he refused, Hagrid would definitely let Harry ride next. Harry will definitely complete this test ride perfectly. Thinking of the scene of Harry being the center of attention, Malfoy felt uncomfortable all over. Let's go for it. Malfoy made up his mind and jumped on Buckbeak. Just like in the light curtain, Buckbeak took Malfoy to the top of the Hogwarts castle, the Lake of Hogwarts, bathed in the sunlight with the Tyndall effect. Malfoy was stunned. At this moment, he finally understood why Harry in the light curtain was so excited. He also opened his arms and shouted like Harry, he was cheering for the freedom and ease of the moment. Harry Potter! I finally surpassed you once. It's not just the joy of flying that he is more happy. What made him happy was that he had surpassed Harry Potter once. He felt that at this moment, he was just like the protagonist in Lockhart's novel. He finally felt Harry's happiness. No. He was happier than Harry in the light curtain. At the same time, another group of beings also felt Malfoy's happiness. Hey! 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 In the sky, the originally bright sunshine suddenly became dark, and around Malfoy, a group of dark shadows wrapped in tattered cloaks suddenly surrounded him. Dementors! Malfoy was dumbfounded. He never thought that he just wanted to fly up to the sky and stand shoulder to shoulder with the sun, but he ran into these guys. This is different from what his father said. Didn't his father say that Dementors would not hurt dark wizards? Lucius was right. Under normal circumstances, Dementors would not harm dark wizards. In fact, the two could depend on each other. But the question is, are you, Draco Malfoy, a dark wizard? Get out of here! Get out of here! Malfoy shouted, but unfortunately, these Dementors would not listen to him. Malfoy felt a blackness in front of his eyes. He felt a cold breath rushing into his heart, as if someone was chopping his internal organs with a knife. Then he seemed to have returned to last year when he was knocked unconscious by Zhang Dong with a lightning spell, and seemed to have returned to the previous time when he was knocked unconscious by Zhang Dong. Malfoy's body softened, and then he knew nothing. Just before he completely lost consciousness, he heard a familiar voice. It was Zhang Dong's voice. Leviosa. To read the exciting novels, go to Novel Network. The invincible Malfoy was sent to the hospital again, but this time it was not Zhang Dong who did it, but he was still sent to the hospital by Zhang Dong. This time it was sent in a positive sense. Zhang Dong saved Malfoy. After all, he was the only one who was capable of saving Malfoy among all the people present. And when they saw Zhang Dong appear, all the Dementors were scared and fled like they saw their natural enemy. I'll take him to Madame Pomfrey. Get out of class dismissed. Hagrid left with Malfoy. Goyle and Crabbe also left with him, but before leaving, Zhang Dong actually saw gratitude in their eyes. When the other little wizards saw Hagrid say get out of class dismissed, they also left obediently. Only Zhang Dong, Hermione, Ron, and Harry were left. Harry said with some concern, will Hagrid and Buckbeak be implicated this time? Ron patted his shoulder and comforted him, don't worry, this has nothing to do with Hagrid. Even if the Malfoys have an attack, they will attack the Ministry of Magic if they have the courage. Harry breathed a sigh of relief and prepared to ask Hermione and Zhang Dong to leave. However, at this time, Hermione looked at Buckbeak in front of her reluctantly. Want to give it a try? Zhang Dong asked beside Hermione. Hermione nodded, I'm here, but unfortunately, Hagrid is gone. Alas! Hermione didn't finish her words before she found herself being picked up by a pair of strong arms and placed on a grey hippogriff, Zhao Wang Zhao. Hermione was about to speak when Zhang Dong picked her up and flexibly flipped onto the back of the hippogriff. Zhang Dong, what are you doing? Hermione exclaimed. If Hagrid is not here, you will definitely be deducted points if you ride the hippogriff randomly. But Zhang Dong didn't care at all. He was too familiar with this group of hippogriffs. They were all kept in Hagrid's suitcase. He had seen them before. And maybe it was because he had the patroness of the hippogriff, but the group of hippogriffs were particularly friendly to him, and they didn't even need to bow. Hold on tight. Go. Zhang Dong patted the back of the hippogriff, and the hippogriff flew into the sky with Hermione and Zhang Dong. Looking at the two people and the horse going away, Harry and Ron's eyes were full of envy. We want to ride too. Can't you take the two of us, Lu? Zhang Dong. We will definitely lose points if Professor McGonagall sees us. Hermione, sitting on the back of the hippogriff and leaning on Zhang Dong's arms, couldn't help shouting. She is always like this. Before doing anything, she thinks whether she will lose points. She is as rational as Ravenclaw. But after knowing that she will lose points, she always does it without hesitation. She is as reckless as Gryffindor. Holding Hermione in the sky, Zhang Dong said nonchalantly, what's the matter? At most, we can add it back in the next class. But there are still Dementors in the sky. Malfoy has just been sent to the hospital. Hermione was still a little worried. But the next second, her worries disappeared completely. When seeing Zhang Dong flying into the sky, all the Dementors fled like mice seeing a cat. In a blink of an eye, the sky of Hogwarts returned to its bright and dazzling appearance. Hermione had nothing to say, and she didn't want to say anything more. I've already come up, is it useful to still worry about these things? But I have to say that the scenery in the sky is indeed much better. Hermione doesn't like the flying broom very much, in addition to her average flying talent, and the thing is too annoying. But now, the two of them are riding on the Pegasus and soaring in the sky together, which is really a bit like a fairy tale romance. Hugging Hermione's waist, Zhang Dong said to her. Do you want to try to stand up? Don't worry, I will hold you steady, do you believe me? Yet. Hermione nodded, then let go of Buckbeak's hand. She carefully stood on the back of the hippogriff, and then spread her hands without any instruction, just like Harry in the light curtain yesterday, like a butterfly spreading its wings. And Zhang Dong was right behind her. He gently hugged Hermione's waist and helped her stabilize her figure to prevent her from falling. There was no Titanic, but there was a hippogriff flying slowly. There was no dolphin sea, but there were mermaids swimming slowly in the lake. The sunshine in Hogwarts was even brighter than the sunshine in the Atlantic Ocean. The difference was that when Rose shouted at Jack, she seemed to be flying, while now Zhang Dong and Hermione were actually soaring in the sky. Once more. You /open /the /door. And /your /here /and /my /heart. What are you singing? Hermione couldn't help asking, she was sure she had never heard of this song. My Heart Will Go On, a classic song by Celine Dion. Liar. She never sang this song. Hermione said she had never heard of this song. Celine Dion debuted in 1981 with her first album La Voix du Bon Dieu and won the French Golden Record Award in 1983 with the single D'amour aux yeux d'amis. 3 years, she has become a household name and an international superstar. Zhang Dong just smiled and explained, this song will not be released until 1997, and a classic movie will be released at the same time. Is it good? Of course. Can we go together then? Of course. In December 1997, exactly 4 years later, she and Hermione have almost graduated from Hogwarts. Hearing Zhang Dong's words, Hermione slowly turned her head, and the two looked at each other, and then the distance became closer and closer, and finally overlapped. The hippogriff flew very slowly, as if it was afraid of disturbing the two people on its back. When Zhang Dong and Hermione returned to Hogwarts, it was already dinner time. Why did you come back so late? Harry couldn't help asking, and there was a little envy in his eyes when he said this. Zhang Dong rode a hippogriff, Hermione rode a hippogriff, even Malfoy rode one, but he didn't. Zhang Dong patted Harry on the shoulder and said in a good mood, this is a good thing. Do you want to be like Malfoy? No. Thinking of Malfoy's appearance, Harry couldn't help shaking his head wildly. What a joke, being sucked down from the sky by a Dementor, this is too embarrassing. Seeing Harry shaking his head, Zhang Dong took a sip of the hot pumpkin juice in front of him. The scenery in the sky is really good, but it's a little cold, so he still needs to drink something hot to warm up his body. And Zhang Dong, who was in a good mood, also took out his mobile phone silently, ready to play something to liven up the atmosphere. It's been a long time since I played Huo Yi, and it's time to play some more. So he tapped his hand, and the light curtain appeared in front of everyone again. Draco Malfoy, Father. I'm in the hospital. To read the exciting novels, go to Novel Network. Little Malfoy started to complain right away. He really felt wronged. He finally finished pretending to be awesome and was ready to go back to greet everyone's cheers, but in the end, it was all because of those damn Dementors. Lucius Malfoy, what? Hospitalized again? Who did it? It's that Zhang Dong again. Headmaster Dumbledore. This is the nth time. Even if you want to cover up, there is a limit. Before Dumbledore could speak, Draco Malfoy interrupted Lucius's denunciation. Draco Malfoy, it wasn't Zhang Dong. On the contrary, he saved me. I was riding Buckbeak in the sky. The group of Dementors suddenly ran out and attacked me. I fell directly from a height of several thousand meters. If it weren't for Zhang Dong's help, I might have died of handsomeness. Zhang Dong. God Tima, several thousand meters, can't you brag a little bit? Also, did you make a typo? Dead handsome? I know you are handsome, but not dead handsome. Lucius Malfoy, what? That's how it is. Zhang Dong, I apologize for my rudeness just now. Thank you so much, Zhang Dong. If you need anything in the future, our Malfoy family will definitely help you. This is really not Lucius being polite, he is really grateful to Zhang Dong. Although the Malfoy family is arrogant, insidious, and shameless, they are really good to their family. But Zhang Dong didn't take Lucius' words to heart at all. Help? How to help? I'm short of 50,000 gold galleons to compensate for the time converter. Can you give it to me? Thinking so, Zhang Dong still silently clicked the play button of the video. Forget it, let's continue watching the video. Down to Hogsmeade village, a figure came here after a long journey. It was Zhang Dong. Seeing Zhang Dong appear, Nakayane was relieved and said with a smile, "You are here. I am so glad that you are okay." "I am fine. How are you?" Zhang Dong asked politely. "I am fine, thank you. I was also in the Three Brooms Tavern at that time. I saw Rukwud and Harold trying to attack you. Since then, I have been worried about you." "I am fine. Don't worry dash. Sebastian Saru, don't worry. I am here." Nakayane, "Oh my god, how dare you say such a thing. But then again, the light curtain has been open for so long, why hasn't Zhang Dong appeared once?" Sebastian Saru, "Don't worry. I am here." Nakayane, "Oh my god, how dare you say such a thing. But then again, the light curtain has been open for so long, why hasn't Zhang Dong shown up once?" Sebastian Saru, "Don't worry. I am here." Nakayane, "Oh my god, how dare you say such a thing. But then again, why hasn't Zhang Dong shown up once since the light curtain was opened for so long?" Sebastian Saru, "Don't worry. I am here." Stian Saru, "I want to know too. Although he has always been very low-key, this is a bit too low-key." Aminet Gaunt, "That's right, and even if he died, it wouldn't stop him from making a speech, right? And with his strength, 100 years shouldn't be enough for him to die." In their eyes, Zhang Dong is only 5 years older than Albus. Since Dumbledore is still alive, Zhang Dong should still be alive. As for whether he will be killed by others, hehe, who can kill him? Sebastian Saru, "Zhang Dong, he should be your grandfather or great-grandfather, after all, you are almost exactly the same, what about him?" Zhang Dong didn't answer. "How can I know? I, Tima, also travelled through time. How can I have such a grandfather?" Nakayane continued, "I heard that Phileas Harrel is Rookwud's confidant, and he has been commanding the gang of villains to burn, kill and loot. As long as Harrel is overthrown, Rookwud's power will collapse." "Thank you, Nana." Zhang Dong expressed his gratitude, nodded to her, and then turned to enter the lower Hogsmeade village in front of him. However, Zhang Dong had just stepped into here when a scream sounded not far away from him. "Are you threatening me? Damn guys!" Hearing this voice, the righteous Zhang Dong went directly into the lower Hogsmeade village to search, and when he found black leather gloves, beige scarf and the prefect vest uniform, he dressed neatly and rushed to the place where the voice came from. "Full as black, every time I see this guy find the treasure box, I feel heartbroken. Children of the future generations, I am really sorry for you. Albus Dumbledore, it's okay. I have already started to rearrange these treasure boxes. It's just that my financial resources are limited. I really can't fill them with so many treasures. Severus Snape, it's okay. I have money. When I become the headmaster, I will definitely put potions in every box." Minerva McGonagall, "Don't worry, Albus. I also have some savings. We can work together." Snape, McGonagall and Dumbledore, the principal has 3 bachelors, and they don't even have an heir for their savings. They are willing to leave these things to future students. Zhang Dong ran over and saw 2 dark wizards holding their wands and pointing them at a woman in a research uniform, Nora Treadwell. "Victor Rookwood, Harrow, look at how you train your men. That guy has been looking for things in Lower Hogsmeade village for such a long time, and they haven't taken action yet? With such execution, no wonder they have accomplished nothing. Phileas Harrow, this. They are not like this usually. Gellert Grindelwald, indeed, with such execution, it is far worse than my fanatics. Tom Riddle, it is also much worse than my Death Eaters. Victor Rookwood, don't be complacent, you too. It's just that we are not in the same era, otherwise I will definitely let you know how powerful my Fire Ash Snake is." 3 people travelled through 3 eras, naturally no one would admit defeat to anyone, but watching the three of them quarreling, Dong, Dumbledore and Harry were confused. You three losers, what is there to quarrel about? Nora Treadwell looked at the two ash snake scouts in front of her and said coldly, I'm here to investigate, but I don't have time to go with you to see Rookwood. Haha. That's not up to you. The two ash snake scouts looked at each other, and then prepared to attack, and at this moment, a red light shot directly from a distance. Disarm you. The moment Dong attacked, a ash snake scout was caught off guard, and the wand in his hand fell to the ground instantly, and Nora did not hesitate. She shot at him in a daze, and the ash snake scout fell to the ground without any defense. What's going on? The other ash snake scout didn't react to what happened. He just turned around and found that a floating spell hit him directly, followed by a blazing flame, and his whole body turned into a pool of scorched earth and fell to the ground. Dong then walked over and said to Nora, Are you okay? Then he threw an ancient magic, hitting the fire ash snake scout who had just fainted and was about to get up, causing him to spit blood and unable to get up again. Cornely Fudge, killed 2 more. Has anyone counted how many people Dong has killed? Rufus Scrimgeour, including these 2, it's already 14. Umbridge, killed 14. This guy should be locked up in Azkaban. To read the exciting novels, go to Novel Network. Albus Dumbledore, he killed those who deserved to be killed. He should be awarded the Order of Merlin. Tom Riddle, okay, stop arguing. It's just 14 people. They are just qualified to join our Death Eaters. Okay, keep reading. Voldemort doesn't care about these. He only killed a dozen people. There are at least 80 wizards who died in his hands, do you think he is proud? As soon as the voice fell, a flame fell from the sky and turned into a figure in red. Fire Ash Snake Duelist. I will enjoy the process of killing you. Behind her, 2 more Fire Ash Snake Scouts trotted over. You can't beat me. I will make you pay with blood. Dong, now, there should be 1.7 billion. Swish, swish, swish. 3 wizards waved their wands and rushed towards Dong and Nora. 2 intermediate level stun and 1 advanced shatter? 3 attacks can kill a person instantly. However, Dong was not in a hurry. He dodged the attacks of the 3 wizards in front of him with a flash, and then a set of standard combos. Floating spell and your weapon and come spell and blazing flames killed a fire ash snake scout instantly, and Nora on the side also quickly followed to block another fire ash snake scout. You are quite strong, and now you have something to enjoy. The fire ash snake duelist seemed to have not realized the seriousness of the problem. She was even enjoying the fun of fighting. And Dong waved his wand indifferently, and then... Ancient magic throw. A big rock smashed directly at the 270 duelist. At this moment, the duelist immediately put up his armor to protect himself and tried to resist, but was smashed directly by the thrown rock. Dong showed no mercy. After breaking the shield, he immediately used a floating spell to control the opponent and then an ancient magic, wild dance and throwing. Boom! The fire ash snake duelist in front of him was directly controlled by Dong and kept smashing to the ground. 1, 2, 3, 4. By the 5th time, the fire ash snake duelist had lost his breath. How could it be? The remaining scout who was dueling with Nora had not yet reacted to what happened, and was pulled into the distance by Dong with a roll and then taken away with a blazing fire and a flat attack. The battle is over. Flitwick, perfect battle. Every time I see Dong fighting, it feels like an art. Sprout, don't worry about whether it's art or not. I've killed 17 people. I don't think I've killed so many people in my life. Kingsley Shacklebolt, is this, the Hogwarts killer? Sirius Black, I declare again that our time was different from yours now. It was very chaotic, so killing a dozen people, well, in fact, I killed this number. Seeing that all 3 fire ash snakes were killed by Dong, Nora breathed a sigh of relief and came to Dong and said. You okay, thank you for your help. Nora Treadwell is here to serve you. Let me introduce myself. I am a historian and part-time archaeologist, focusing on Merlin's life and deeds. Dong said in surprise, really? I always thought Merlin was just a legendary figure. Sir Cadogan, what? Merlin is not a legend. He is my good friend. We are good friends who drank together. No. Close friends. Neville Longbottom, are you telling the truth? To be honest, we always thought you were bragging, after all, you often. Sir Cadogan, this is slander. Slander. I am a member of the great Knights of the Round Table. I once worked with Lancelot and Bede. You fought side by side with Will and Percival. Hermione Granger, really? You are a Knight of the Round Table. But you are not on the legendary list of Knights of the Round Table. The Muggle world is full of legends about King Arthur and 150 Knights of the Round Table, but unfortunately, Sir Cadogan's name is not included in it. Albus Dumbledore, in fact, there is, but he is more of a court magician than a knight. Sir Cadogan once killed a wyvern with a wand alone. At that time, he only had half a wand. Garrick Ollivander, Blackthorn wood and giant's beard, 9 inches long, flammable. Albus Dumbledore, you remember it very clearly. Yes, it was this wand and a stolen, no, robbed, no, anyway, it was a pony. He killed the dragon just like that. So in the wizarding world, we often say I will bring Cadogan's pony to express that I will do my best to turn the tide. Seeing Dumbledore say this, the little wizards couldn't help but respect this stupid knight. That's a dragon. But few people can kill it single-handedly. Until now, the recognized legendary wizard in the wizarding world is still required to be able to kill an adult flying dragon head-on single-handedly. Nora continued to explain, Merlin was also a student of Hogwarts. He left dozens of strange devices around here at that time. I named it Merlin's Trial. I guess it is a treasure he left for his Slytherin alumni. Ron Weasley, Merlin's treasure. Merlin's beard. Where is it? I can't wait to get my treasure. Fred Weasley, foolish people are still thinking. George Weasley, smart people are already taking notes. Minerva McGonagall, calm down, maybe it's just a misunderstanding? After all, up to now, none of us have found where these Merlin trials are. Zhang Dong. Is there a possibility? I mean it's possible. To read the exciting novels, go to Novel Network. Who 100 years ago has solved all Merlin's trials? According to the notes left by Merlin, he mentioned the name of Sweet Mallow many times, so I think these trials must be related to it. Do you want to try it? As she spoke, Nora handed 5 pieces of mallow to Zhang Dong as a thank you for his help. And Zhang Dong was not polite. He went directly to the center of the prototype pattern in front of him and gently placed a piece of mallow on it. And the next second, something magical happened. Buzz! A mysterious energy spread nearby. Zhang Dong noticed that around this mark, 3 stone pillars without flames had slight magical fluctuations. The flames are blazing. Zhang Dong lit the stone pillar began to sink slowly until it was submerged in the water and extinguished. Zhang Dong raised his mouth 3.3 times, as if he had understood something. The flames are blazing. Almost at the same time, he directly ignited 3 stone pillars, and this time, the stone pillars did not sink again. And at the location of the pattern, a small pavilion made of vines was slowly rising, and a statue of Merlin was standing there quietly. Merlin's trial was solved. Fred Weasley, hey? That's it? Even my mentally retarded brother can solve it. George Weasley, yes, I think so too. Ron Weasley, I feel like you are talking about me, and I have evidence. Fred Weasley, don't mind this Ron. You are our brother. It's just that I suddenly lost interest. What good things can such a simple trial give? What good things does the Merlin trial give? You can expand your backpack by passing the Merlin trial, but the problem is that it is in the game, who knows what the rewards are in reality. But Zhang Dong continued to play the video. In front of a hillside, Zhang Dong used his magic power to smash the spheres into pieces. In an ice field, Zhang Dong, wearing gloves, used his magic wand to cast the magic cube pattern on the stone pillars and aligned it with the pattern on the stone pillars below. In the snow, he kept using the repair spell to fix the broken statues. In the dark night, Zhang Dong used fluorescent flashes to attract fireflies and sent them to the stone pillars to light up the night. There are also jumping steps, blowing up stone pillars, and other trials that are not difficult, but the types are varied and different. Nora, I understand, Lord Merlin is using his own methods to hone various magic spells for future generations. Only the most comprehensive students can pass all his trials and get his final reward. Sirius Black, no wrong, the levitation charm, the repair charm, and the previous fire charm are all very common but very useful spells. Sir Cadogan, that makes sense. After all, Merlin was just a student who had not graduated yet. You can't expect a 15-year-old child to fight a dragon alone, right? Severus Snape, I think, it's not impossible. Albus Dumbledore, yes, there will never be a lack of miracles in the wizarding world. Tom Riddle, Tisk, compared to what you said, I am more curious about what I can get after passing so many trials. Merlin's trials are so complicated, and the rewards must be very generous. Finally, after completing the last trial, a green light entered the small bag on Zhang Dong's waist. Zhang Dong excitedly opened it, and then, there was nothing inside. It can't be said that there was nothing. At least the space has increased a lot. The small bag that could only hold a few pieces of clothes can now hold dozens of pieces. Tom Riddle, dozens. Gellert, Grindelwald, well, just dozens. Albus Dumbledore, alas, only dozens. Sir Cadogan, that's enough. Merlin was just a child at that time. Do you still expect him to put the 3 Deathly Hallows in it? It's good enough to cast a traceless stretch spell on you. Albus Dumbledore, well, it seems that Mr. Merlin didn't have a good life back then. Zhang Dong was also gritting his teeth when he saw this scene. 95. A full 95 trials. Do you know how many times I flipped through the map, checked how many guides, and how much time I spent drawing? The result is to expand a backpack. Damn. Black. Really black. The scene turns back to the lakeside. Zhang Dong is breaking up the moonstones and putting them in his pocket. At this moment, a house elf with gauze wrapped around its head and one ear missing appeared next to Zhang Dong. Who are you? Zhang Dong asked curiously. Scrope, the house elf of the Black family, can you do me a favor? I'm looking for a ring. I didn't want to ask students to help, but I saw that you seemed to be looking for something, and thought I might be able to help you. Scrope answered honestly. As a house elf, they usually don't lie. Zhang Dong, who is helpful, honest, trustworthy, upright, and kind, of course did not refuse. He looked at him curiously and asked, "Tell me about this ring." The Black family crest is engraved on the ring. I thought if I gave it to the principal would be very happy. Oh, this is using my achievements to do favors, but it doesn't matter, but you have to tell me what happened to your ears. Zhang Dong pointed to the gauze on its head, where an ear was obviously missing. Hearing Zhang Dong's words, Scrope said proudly, the Black family has a tradition that they will behead unwanted house elves. One day, Scrope offended dear Apollonia, and she picked up a machete in anger. Fortunately, Scrope made her realize the value of Scrope again. This missing ear is the proof of her kindness. Harry Potter. Hermione Granger. Hermione Granger, what? You actually call this kind of behavior kindness? Phineas Black, not directly chopping off its head, what else is kindness? Hermione Granger, so, they still have to thank you. Phineas Black, of course, our Black family is well known for its kindness to house elves. The Black family is kind? Of course, Regulus was indeed kind to Creaker. To read the most exciting novels, go to Novel Network. But people like Regulus and Sirius are obviously outliers even in the Black family. Hermione just wants to say that the life of an elf is also a life, but unfortunately, no one will support her, even Hagrid and the others think so. Looking at the pitiful Scrope, Zhang Dong nodded silently, then picked up the piece of toast handed by Scrope and walked in the direction Scrope pointed. It was a cave. According to Scrope, just put the piece of toast in the cave. However, Scrope couldn't do it. Because in front of this cave, 6 ferocious magical animals blocked the way forward. This is a large frog, about the size of a 15-year-old child, with thick rocks on their backs, and they look like they are not easy to mess with. Newt's Commander, Stoneback Mud Monster, Triple X Magical Beasts, these little guys are not easy to mess with, because ordinary magic can't cause too much damage to them. And they weigh nearly 500 grams, and it's easy to break hands and feet if they hit them. If 6 rockback mud monsters attack together, even a high-level wizard may not be able to take them down. Newt's words are very pertinent, and the facts are indeed similar. Don't say that Zhang Dong is only level 10 at this point in the plot, which is barely a mid-level wizard. Even if a high-level wizard of level 20 comes, he can't withstand one of these rockback mud monsters. However, who said Zhang Dong wants to fight head-on? 6 rockback mud monsters. Zhang Dong came up and cast a floating spell, ready to float a rockback mud monster and then take it away with a standard combo. However, this time, Zhang Dong failed. Newt, Scamander, I just said that Himiko weighs 500 grams, equivalent to 4 adults, and the low-level floating spell can't make them float. Seeing this, everyone was a little curious about what Zhang Dong would do. Zhang Dong angered this rockback mud monster with a floating spell, and it pounced directly at Zhang Dong, but because of the distance, the action of this rockback mud monster did not attract the attention of his companions. Zhang Dong attacked with a basic attack, but found that he could only knock off a little blood from it. Fortunately, this thing moved slowly, and Zhang Dong easily dodged every attack with his flexible rolling. Finally, after more than a dozen basic attacks, the rockback mud monster fell to the ground. And its death finally caught the attention of several other rockback mud monsters. Boom! 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 The 4 rockback mud monsters charged together, like 4 mud trucks. Zhang Dong could only roll and dodge, and then throw all his spells at once, and deal as much damage as he could. Ron Weasley, these rockback mud monsters are so strong. Newt Scamander, it's not that these rockback mud monsters are strong, but Zhang Dong's strength is still relatively weak. I have no ill intentions, but if you pay attention, you will find that although his previous battles were very exciting, he relied more on flexible evasion and clever combos to deal with the enemy. When he encountered a difficult opponent, he used ancient magic. But in fact, his own strength is not much different from that of a 5th-year student who just passed the OW1 exam. This is indeed the truth. At this time, the protagonist is only at level 10, which is mediocre among 5th-year students. It's just that this 5th-year student has a cheat. Dodge. Flying spell. Blazing flames. Disarm you. Fall to the ground. I'll dodge again. Zhang Dong dodged the tongue spit out by the rockback mud monster, and then looked at the cooldown, and could only throw out a floating spell that he hadn't used before. However, something shocking happened. The rockback mud monster that was uncontrollable just now was hanging in the air with its long tongue sticking out. Wait! Zhang Dong looked at this scene, and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Rolf Scamander, this is... What happened? Newt Scamander, tongue. It's the tongue. That's right, the strongest part of the rockback mud monster is its tongue, but its weakest part is also its tongue. Zhang Dong's levitation spell cannot float the entire body of the rockback mud monster, but it can still float only a section of the tongue. And for the rockback mud monster, controlling the tongue means controlling the whole body. Rubo Hagrid, that's right. If you throw a split at this time, the tongue of the rockback mud monster will be cut off. According to my understanding of them, if the tongue is cut off, they will die together. Magical animals also have weaknesses. Looking at this scene, Zhang Dong finally understood. He used a set of output to the floating rockback mud monster. The controlled rockback mud monster could only be beaten and then died in anger. The other 3 companions wanted to help, but unfortunately, Zhang Dong shot and moved to another place. After dodging a round of charge, he used 3 flat attacks and an ancient magic, thunder, and took away another rockback mud monster. A rockback mud monster stretched out its tongue and wanted to sneak attack, but Zhang Dong controlled it with a floating spell as if he had eyes on his back and took it away again. As for the last one, flat attacks were enough to grind it to death. The most unlucky one was the one at the entrance of the cave that had not come out. It was directly hit by the ancient magic that Zhang Dong had just accumulated. After a few more attacks, it was killed without even running over. 6 rockback mud monsters were completely wiped out. Ron Weasley, so strong. Is this guy born for fighting? Harry also swallowed his saliva and said, he is indeed very strong. He is different from the Zhang Dong we know who is strong enough to crush everything. He is strong enough to rely entirely on technology. It's like facing the same enemy. Our Zhang Dong directly fired a rocket, while he shot a sniper rifle in the head from 800 meters away. Ron Weasley, rocket launcher? Sniper rifle? What is that? Hermione Granger, a steel wand. One can release thunderbolt blasting, and the other can release Avada to eat big melon. Harry Potter. Easy to explain. Zhang Dong on the side also secretly rolled his eyes at Harry. What do you mean they are not the same kind of strong? Do you understand what it means to intersperse firepower when you are poor and blow it up when you are rich? Do you think I didn't want to roast them all with a fire shield like I do now? Didn't I know how to do it then? As for why I'm doing it this way now. I've been poor all my life. Can't I enjoy myself? To read exciting novels, go to Novel Network. Fred Weasley, I realize you didn't see the point at all. Is the point that his combo is cool? The point is his roll, okay. George Weasley, that's right. Why is his roll so smooth? Doesn't he get dizzy? If I could do 18 rolls like him, I can beat 6 people by myself. This. Zhang Dong really couldn't say anything. He couldn't tell them that he was gifted, Li Zhao. After solving all the rockback mud monsters, Zhang Dong walked into the cave in front of him. As he entered, the cave became more and more humid. Zhang Dong took out his wand and lit the torch here. He found that there was a table that had been there for who knows how long. On the table was a dusty diary equals. Zhang Dong picked it up, and at this moment, a ghost head also came out from the wall on one side. Finally, someone found my diary. Then, a headless body came out, picked up the head on the ground and put it on, then greeted Zhang Dong in front of him and said, "Hello, welcome here, I am Richard Check Doyle." Ron Weasley, Richard Check Doyle? I thought it was the young Nick who was almost headless. Nick almost headless? Hey, what are you looking at? You can't just think it's me when you see a headless person. Why don't you say he's Louis the 16th? Ron Weasley, this. Haha. You still know Louis 16. Nick almost headless? Nonsense, I'm just dead, not blind. After Richard Check Doyle put his head back in place, he looked at Zhang Dong in front of him and asked, "Who are you? How did you find this place?" "It was a house elf named Scrope who asked me to find a key with the Black family crest." When Richard heard Zhang Dong say this, he nodded silently, and then said as a matter of course, "I have pawned the badge." Poor Scrope, he is still thinking about his Apollonia. "You stole it?" "Yes, but that's not the point. I stole those treasures just to get her peace of mind. Unfortunately, it was all in vain in the end. I also found a few maps, but she was not interested. Peeves told me that maybe the treasures pointed to by the map could arouse her interest, so you went to the place in the map, and then..." Zhang Dong said, making a hand up and knife down gesture with his hand. Richard subconsciously touched his neck, and then smiled awkwardly. He changed the subject and continued, "Well, how about we meet in the Forbidden Forest? I can take you there." "Okay, it's a deal. Those pages should still be inside the vest I was wearing at the time." Zhang Dong and Richard hit it off and prepared to go to the Forbidden Forest. "Fred Weasley, we still don't know how many good things there are in the Forbidden Forest." "George Weasley, the problem is that we are not allowed to enter the Forbidden Forest. Otherwise, we would have already searched through all the good things in the Forbidden Forest." "Minerva McGonagall, what are you thinking? Didn't you see what happened to Richard? It's for your own good that you are not allowed to go to the Forbidden Forest." Ron Weasley, "Yes, the Forbidden Forest is too dangerous. There are even acromantulas in it. It's scary to think about it." Minerva McGonagall, "Yes, Ron is right. Wait, how do you know there are acromantulas in the Forbidden Forest?" Cobb. Ron Weasley, "I guessed, yes, I guessed, hee. Ron stopped talking immediately, for he was afraid that if he continued to talk, he would get into trouble again. Zhang Dong walked out after he and Richard made an agreement. He returned to Scrope and told him what had just happened. "Thank you very much. Richard has told me the whereabouts of those pages." "Really? That's great. Have you seen the Black family ring?" Scrope didn't forget his own affairs. Hearing Scrope's words, Zhang Dong shook his head helplessly. The head said with regret, "I'm sorry, Scrope. The ring has been sold by Richard." "Oh, that's a pity. It seems that Scrope can only use other methods to please Principal Black." The screen went black here. Seeing this, everyone understood that today's broadcast was over. Seeing the light screen disappear, the little wizards lowered their heads and prepared to eat. However, Zhang Dong could still hear them secretly discussing the Forbidden Forest. "What do you think is in the Forbidden Forest?" "Unicorns, centaurs, eight-eyed giant spiders, anyway, that kind of place is not for us to go. If I have the chance, I also want to go to the Forbidden Forest to take a look." Listening to the conversation of this group of little wizards, Zhang Dong just smiled faintly and checked his rewards. "Congratulations to the master for popularizing the character, Nora Treadwell, you can get a reward, arithmancy, intermediate." "No, why did she, a historian, give me arithmancy instead of magic history?" Zhang Dong couldn't help but complain in his heart, but think about it, it's not strange that a historian has intermediate arithmancy, which means that she took arithmancy when she was studying at Hogwarts. Congratulations to the master for popularizing the character, Scrope, you can get a reward, a new look, advanced. It's reasonable for the house elf to give housework magic. Congratulations to the master for popularizing the magical beast, Rockback Mud Monster, you can get a reward, Animagus, Rockback Mud Monster. Animagus is Rockback Mud Monster? This thing can't be said to be bad, after all, the strength of the Rockback Mud Monster is still good, and it can also go into the water. To read the exciting novels, go to Falu Novel Network. But the problem is, this thing is too ugly. If it comes to going into the water, Zhang Dong would rather have a mermaid or a water clown, at least they are more handsome. Congratulations to the master for popularizing the character, Merlin, you can get a reward, the traceless stretching technique, top level. Popularized Merlin? It should be the popularization of Merlin's trial, but it doesn't matter, anyway, there is a reward. Zhang Dong's traceless stretching technique was originally advanced, but now, he has reached the top level. You can go expand that suitcase again. Zhang Dong said so, and then continued to read. Next, it should be the you-know-who reward. Congratulations to the host for popularizing the character, you-know-who. You can get a reward, the ancient magic talent, swiftness. Ancient magic talent, swiftness, your dodge can make you turn into a white light to reach the designated location, and you will be temporarily invincible when you turn into white light. Damn! A magical skill. Zhang Dong looked at the reward he just got with satisfaction. This swiftness is simply the dodge invincibility frame in the game. The battle between wizards is very slow. Yes, when the Ministry of Magic fought, Dumbledore was able to suppress Voldemort because of the high mobility of apparition. Zhang Dong can do it, but it must be said that the use of apparition is still very dangerous, and it will be split if you are not careful. But with swiftness, it doesn't matter. In close combat, no one can catch Zhang Dong. Thinking of this, Zhang Dong couldn't help but smile. Looking at the smile on Zhang Dong's face, Harry on the side couldn't help asking, Zhang Dong, what are you laughing at? Looking at Harry like this, Zhang Dong turned his head and looked at him with a smile and asked. Harry, do you believe in light? Harry? Hogwarts was still very peaceful during this period. Hagrid's confidence increased after the success of the first class. He was still warned, but this did not dampen his confidence. So in the next class, he taught everyone how to keep the flobberworm, which is particularly easy to die, alive, and made several bowtruckles for the little wizards to see. In the most exciting class, this guy actually fished out 4 or 5 rockback mud monsters from the lake next to him to teach everyone. The rockback mud monsters were not happy at first, but they found that their collisions could not do anything to this big guy, and the food he prepared tasted really good, so they stopped struggling. Alas, it seems that everyone will have a hard time in this year's final exam. Zhang Dong couldn't help but sigh. Originally, this year's magical creature's final exam was just to keep the flobberworm alive for an hour, which was not difficult and could be passed with a little effort. But this year, Zhang Dong knows Hagrid well, so he either has to prepare food that the rockback mudslayer likes, or ride a hippogriff to fly around Hogwarts within the specified time. In addition to the magical beasts class, another class that the young wizards like is Lupin's defense against the dark arts class. After Quirrell in the first year and Lockhart in the second year, the young wizards finally welcomed a normal defense against the dark arts professor. Lupin's first class also started with how to deal with Boggart, and then he also taught the young wizards the attack spell of 10,000 bullets, which was full of dry goods. The other classes were similar. Professor Flitwick taught the happy spell in the charms class, and Snape taught the preparation of the confusion potion and the hair growth potion in the potions class. Zhang Dong always believed that if this hair growth potion was sold to the Muggle world, it would definitely make a lot of money. In short, this period of time was wonderful and comfortable, except for Harry. Professor McGonagall, my aunt and uncle, they forgot to sign the consent form. In front of the third-year team heading to Hogsmeade, Harry rubbed his unsigned consent form and said shyly. Looking at Harry like this, Professor McGonagall certainly knew what was going on. Before sending Harry to the Dursleys' house, she had observed the Dursleys for a whole night, and she certainly knew what kind of people that family was. But unfortunately, rules are rules, and she would never violate them. I'm afraid not, Harry. Seeing Professor McGonagall's expression, Harry continued to say unwillingly, but my parents agreed, you saw it, on the light screen. But they didn't and couldn't sign. Professor McGonagall patted Harry on the shoulder, and then walked helplessly to the front of the team. Looking at Professor McGonagall's back, Ron was dissatisfied on behalf of his good brother. Professor McGonagall is really old-fashioned. If it were me, Harry, you should just let me sign for you. Anyway, Professor McGonagall has never met your Uncle Aunt's handwriting. But she knows your handwriting. Hermione rolled her eyes helplessly. Hearing Hermione's words, Ron lowered his head in embarrassment. I still have the invisibility cloak. Harry suddenly had an idea. Dementors can see through your invisibility cloak, Harry. Zhang Dong also poured a basin of cold water on him appropriately. Filch will check every little wizard who goes out at the door, but this is actually easy to deal with. What is really difficult to deal with is the Dementors next to him, because they want to search for Sirius, and they will also check everyone who passes by. Oh! Harry lowered his head helplessly, he knew that he really had no way out now. Looking at the lonely Harry, Zhang Dong patted his shoulder and said, but, it's not that there is no way at all. Zhang Dong took the consent form from Harry, and then he took Yumi out of his arms and handed it to him, saying, take this and go find your friend, he will understand. Ah! Yumi looked at Zhang Dong blankly, how did the master know that he had made a friend recently? Master! I will bring you a box of dried fish when I come back, Harry will reimburse you. Okay. Yumi disappeared with the consent form. Only 5 minutes later, it came back here again, and then stuffed the consent form to Harry in front of it and said, here, don't forget my dried fish. 0 please give me flowers 00. Then she went back to sleep in Zhang Dong's arms. Harry curiously opened the consent form in his hand. When he saw the name on it, his eyes widened. This is... How can this be his name? Is there a problem? He is your godfather. This is what your father said. Zhang Dong looked at him as a matter of course. Are you going or not? If not, tear up this consent form. Go, go, go. Why not go? Harry quickly held the consent form tightly. Although he had a lot of questions to ask, he now knew that it was more important to get out than to stay here. Besides, would Zhang Dong harm him? With Zhang Dong's strength, if he wanted to harm him, he would be dead on the first day of school. Thinking of this, Harry resolutely walked towards Professor McGonagall. Looking at Harry coming over, Professor McGonagall said helplessly. Mr. Potter, I said that the rules are the rules. No one can let you go to Hogsmeade without a signature. To read the exciting novel, go to Novel Network. But Professor McGonagall, I have signed it now. Harry said, and then handed the consent form directly to Professor McGonagall. Professor McGonagall took it and said, Mr. Potter, forging a signature will deduct points. Professor McGonagall didn't say a word after that, she was frightened by the consent form in front of her and stopped breathing. She knew this font too well. As a professor of Gryffindor, she knew every student's handwriting. And the consent form clearly read. I, Sirius Black, Harry Potter's godfather, agree that he can go to Hogsmeade on the weekend. Professor McGonagall, can I go to Hogsmeade? Harry asked in a low voice. Professor McGonagall nodded subconsciously. In England, godfathers are comparable to biological fathers and are the most reasonable guardians, so they are naturally qualified to sign this word. Seeing Professor McGonagall nod, Harry smiled excitedly. Can he finally go to Hogsmeade openly? Harry, of course you can go to Hogsmeade, but you have to tell me where this person is. He is very dangerous. Professor McGonagall looked at Harry in front of her seriously. However, Harry just looked at her blankly, and then said, I don't know, Professor McGonagall. Professor McGonagall sighed. She could see that Harry was not lying, but this was even more troublesome. I'm going to find Principal Dumbledore. Percy, you take them to Hogsmeade. Okay, Professor McGonagall. Percy stood out from the crowd. He held his head high and came to the front of the team and said, okay, everyone, follow your student president. Follow me. The power of the student president is extremely high. To be able to serve as the student president, Percy is no weaker than the average professor in terms of strength and status. There is no problem for him to lead the little wizards to Hogsmeade. Hooray! Harry couldn't help but shout excitedly, and then walked directly towards Hogsmeade. Professor McGonagall looked at their backs worriedly, and then walked directly to Dumbledore's office. Calm down, Calm down Minerva, what happened? Dumbledore looked at Professor McGonagall in front of him and asked calmly. Sirius appeared. Hey! Dumbledore, who was as calm as he was, couldn't help but look at Professor McGonagall seriously. Where is he? I don't know, but he signed this for Harry. Professor McGonagall handed the written consent form to Dumbledore. Dumbledore looked at the signature of Sirius Black, and he took a deep breath silently. He adjusted his glasses and said to Professor McGonagall, I know, I will handle this matter. Okay, then leave it to you, Albus. Professor McGonagall nodded, and then turned and left the principal's office. Dumbledore looked at the consent form in front of him in silence, and then disappeared in a flash. On the other side, Hogsmeade. This is not the first time that Zhang Dong has come here. He has accompanied Zhang Qiu here countless times. After all, he has come here secretly in countless ways. But this is the first time that he has come out openly, especially this time it is not Zhang Qiu who is with him, but Hermione. Hermione is obviously very excited. She dragged Zhang Dong around in this small village. As for Harry and Ron? Didn't Harry call him out just to let him accompany Ron to play? Zhang Dong doesn't want to run around with a light bulb. Zhang Dong, I want this. In Zuko's joke shop, Hermione pointed at a pretty teacup with stars in her eyes. Boss, please pack that teacup. Zhang Dong said with a lavish manner. Although he was short of money, that money could not be earned by saving, so there was no need to lower his quality of life. Upon hearing this, the boss happily wrapped up the teacup that would bite the nose of the tea drinker and handed it to Hermione. He didn't even remind the two of them, and looked like he was enjoying it. Just kidding, the owner of Zonko's joke shop, how could he be a good person? Zhang Dong knew this, of course, but he didn't remind Hermione. After all, this nose-biting teacup is really a small matter compared to the later products of the Weasley twins, and it is natural that it will be squeezed out and almost closed down in the future. Boss, don't you really consider introducing the dung eggs we developed? Definitely worth the money, the purchase price is only 1 silver sickle. Hearing this voice, Zhang Dong also smiled. This person is really a joke. I just missed them, and now I see them here. However, the two brothers are obviously not welcome now. Before they finished speaking, they were driven out of Zonko's joke shop by the boss like flies. Holding a box of dung in their arms, the two brothers looked at each other helplessly and smiled bitterly. Fred, George. Zhang Dong pulled Hermione towards the twins, and looking at Zhang Dong walking towards them, the twins' originally lonely faces also showed a smile. Zhang Dong. Hermione. This change in expression clearly showed that it was not the first time they were kicked out. What are you doing? Hermione looked at the twins in front of her curiously. Zero. Fred did not hide it and said directly, to promote our products, you know, scientific research always needs funds. Scientific research results also need buyers. The two brothers did not feel that there was anything wrong with what they did. They also needed money to develop new products, and their parents could not give them the money, so they could only find a way themselves. Want to make money? I want to make money too. Zhang Dong shook his head and wanted to leave. But then I thought, no, isn't this a good way to make money? 2 years later, after the twins got 1,000 gold galleons from Harry, they opened a Weasley's Wizard Weez's shop at 93 Diagon Alley. As for the profits, a fake wand costs 5 galleons each, while the real one in Ollivanders only costs 10 galleons, a special curse-proof hat and set costs 10 galleons per set, and the Ministry of Magic ordered 500 of them. Weasley's Whoosh Bang fireworks, the one that blew up Umbridge, costs 1 galleon for the regular version and 15 galleons for the deluxe version. This thing is pure profit. To read the exciting novels, go to Novel Network. Zhang Dong thought about it, then patted the two brothers on the shoulder and said, your talents should not be wasted here. Hey? The two brothers were confused. If their talents were not wasted here, then where should they be wasted? Zhang Dong flipped his hand, and a heavy bag of 0.7 appeared in his hand. He opened the bag, and the dazzling light of the gold galleon instantly attracted the two brothers. Looked at each other blankly when they saw so many gold galleons. They asked Zhang Dong. Zhang Dong, what are you doing? Zhang Dong smiled and said, of course it's an investment. I'll provide ideas and funds, and you'll provide strength and technology. Let's make it bigger and stronger and create brilliance. How about it? This. The Weasley twins nodded in agreement almost instantly. Just kidding, This is 1,000 galleons. Even if the Weasley family emptied their money, they couldn't take it out. Why would they disagree with this price? The two brothers just looked at each other and nodded without hesitation and said two words. Deal. Let's sign a magic contract. Fred took out a pen and paper directly from the Zonko joke shop next door. The wizarding world has its own contracts, and the contracts are more binding. Let alone the contract, everyone dares not even swear, for fear that they will be killed if they are not careful. Zhang Dong signed it quickly. He trusted the two brothers very much. Although they were willing to play pranks, he still trusted their character. Holding the contract and money, the two brothers looked like they were going to do something big. To celebrate our establishment, how about I treat you to a drink at the Hogshead Tavern? I have a good relationship with Aberforth. Zhang Dong said so. He and Aberforth did have a good relationship. Since Zhang Dong resurrected Ariana, every time he went to the Hogshead Tavern, Aberforth would treat him to delicious food and drinks, and finally didn't ask him for money, which made him a little embarrassed. But the two brothers shook their heads. Fred, I can't wait. George, let's go buy materials now. Fred, just wait and see our results. George, we will definitely make the whole of England look up to us. After that, the two couldn't wait to leave. Looking at the backs of the two, Zhang Dong took Hermione's hand and walked towards Fenja Wizard clothing store. Since you are going shopping, buying clothes must be an indispensable part. Speaking of which, sometimes Zhang Dong really wants to complain. The variety and quality of Hogsmeade products now are not even as good as Hogsmeade during the period of Huo Yi. Look at Hogsmeade during the period of Huo Yi, the flying brooms all have special effects, and the wizard costumes are also strange and have various attributes attached. Look at Hogsmeade now, the broom is flying faster, but there is no special effect at all. Zhang Dong and Hermione walked around the streets for a whole day, from Honeyduke's candy store to the Shrieking Shack, and they were ready to go back until Harry and Ron came to call them. Looking at Harry and Ron with big bags and small bags, Zhang Dong couldn't help but complain, "Did you come to Hogsmeade to buy goods?" "Don't say that, Zhang Dong." Harry quickly defended himself, "I dare say you also bought a lot of things, but we don't know how to stretch without a trace." "This, hee hee." Zhang Dong smiled awkwardly. "Don't mention it, they are really right." It's not that Zhang Dong bought a lot, it's mainly Hermione. When she goes shopping, she is no different from the girls in the future, especially when the two of them are not short of money. "Don't talk about us. Where did you go to play?" Zhang Dong changed the subject and asked. Harry's eyes lit up when he said this. "We went to Honeyduke's, and the candies there were great. But they couldn't compare to Zonko's joke shop, where everything was fun." Harry couldn't help but take out the candies and toys he bought when he talked about this, and he also wanted to give Hermione some, but Hermione refused. There was no way. Her father was a dentist and didn't allow her to eat too many sweets. And Harry didn't mean to stop. He was still there saying, "We also went to the Three Broomsticks. Ron saw Madame Rosmerta for half an hour. He also said that she had a great figure." Harry. Ron quickly covered Harry's mouth as he wanted to continue talking. Harry talked a lot today. But he still turned his head and whispered to Zhang Dong, "But Madame Rosmerta's figure is really great." Zhang Dong rolled his eyes at him. She was almost 40 years old. What if she had a good figure? "Okay, let's go back. It's dark. Let's go, Hermione." Zhang Dong called everyone to go back, but Hermione stood not far away and looked at a gloomy house in the distance. Not only Hermione, Ron and Harry also came over curiously. Ron followed Hermione's gaze and screamed in fear. "Ah! Ron, what are you doing?" The startled Hermione glared at Ron. Harry also looked at Ron in confusion, and Ron said, "That's the Shrieking Shack." Harry still didn't understand, he had never heard of this name. "What does it mean?" "You have to scream when you see it." "Of course not." Ron calmed down his excitement, and then said in a gloomy voice, "That is the most famous haunted house in England. Legend has it that when it's late at night, people in Hogsmeade can hear screams coming from there, like screams, and like wails. Some say that there is a female ghost living there, and some say that it is full of ghosts." Ron said this and put on a fierce look, trying to scare everyone. Unfortunately, there were a group of Gryffindors standing here. After hearing what Ron said, Harry even wanted to go in and take a look. He tried to flip over the wall, but unfortunately, he was pulled down by Ron as soon as he stood up. "No, what are you doing? Go in and take a look," Harry said as a matter of course. "No, didn't you hear me? There are ghosts in there." "Ghosts?" Ron was confused. "Didn't he make it clear?" Harry said as a matter of course, "Yes, there are ghosts, what's wrong? Aren't there a bunch of ghosts in our Hogwarts? How can it be the same? Why are they different? Aren't those in the light curtain also ghosts? Let alone other things, Voldemort has been resurrected so many times, and I haven't seen you afraid. Besides, isn't Zhang Dong here?" "Ron, hey? To read the exciting novels, go to Falu Novel Network." Ron scratched his head and suddenly felt that what Harry said made sense. They subconsciously looked at Zhang Dong, as if he would go in if you said so. Of course Zhang Dong knew about the Shrieking Shack. What about the ghosts in the Shrieking Shack? There were no ghosts. There was only a locked werewolf wailing. "Don't go in. No one has cleaned it for more than 10 years. It's full of smoke. As for wanting to go in and take a look," Zhang Dong smiled, "don't worry, you will be able to go in and take a look soon." "Hey!" Harry and Ron looked at each other. Needless to say, Zhang Dong must have predicted something again. "Zhang Dong, what did you see?" Harry suddenly remembered something and asked. And Zhang Dong just said silently, "Nothing, just a close call." "A close call?" Hearing Zhang Dong say this, the two of them also breathed a sigh of relief. A close call means nothing, as for that little shock. They both get a little shock every few days, and they are used to it. The trip to Hogsmeade is over. Overall, it was still very happy. At least Zhang Dong and Hermione felt quite happy. Only Harry and Ron felt a little regretful. However, when everyone returned to the lounge, at the entrance of Gryffindor, the door that was originally controlled by the fat lady could not be opened, because the painting had been torn into pieces by sharp claw marks. "Please let me pass. I am the president of the student union." Percy squeezed in from the crowd, but looking at the fragmented painting in front of him, he had no way to open the door. It was Sirius who did it. He must have wanted to sneak into the lounge to assassinate Harry. Ron said confidently. But as soon as he finished speaking, Zhang Dong looked helplessly at this guy who was tall but not smart and said. Sirius signed a consent form for Harry to go to Hogsmeade, and then waited for Harry to go out to play and then ran over to assassinate Harry. "Do you think this logic makes sense?" "Ron, hey." Ron reacted and thought that what he said seemed to make sense. At this time, Dumbledore had already come over with Professor McGonagall. They found the fat lady hiding in other paintings, but after confirming that Sirius had sneaked into Hogwarts, he was still worried about letting the students go back to the lounge directly. "President of the Student Union, take the students to the auditorium. They may have to spend the night there tonight. All professors should search every corner immediately. By the way, Zhang Dong, please search with me." "Yes." Zhang Dong knew that after seeing the letter from Sirius, Dumbledore would definitely come to find him. I guess he has a lot of questions to ask now. Zhang Dong wanted to tell Dumbledore not to let students sleep on the floor in the hall. It was quite cold, so they should not catch a cold. But after thinking about it, he decided not to. It was not necessary. Sleeping on the floor was good for the waist. Zhang Dong and Dumbledore left here, and Ron suddenly shouted as he watched Zhang Dong's back go away. No. Why did Dumbledore call Zhang Dong away? If Sirius takes advantage of the situation, who can protect us? Percy. Percy Weasley. He looked at Zhang Dong's back as he went away, and there was some resentment in his eyes. Even though he had become the president of the student union, his prestige in the eyes of these students was still not as high as Zhang Dong's. What else could Percy do? He could only ask the fat lady to open the door of the lounge and let the students go in and take out the quilts. Even if you have to sleep on the floor, at least you need a blanket. However, as soon as Percy opened the door, he saw a little thing jumping out. It was the mouse that they had raised for more than 10 years. Scabbers! Where are you going? Ron shouted, and then chased after him desperately. Ron! Harry watched his friend chase the mouse, and worried about his friend's safety, Harry was also very worried. He rushed forward. Seeing Harry, Ron, and Zhang Dong all running out, Hermione naturally didn't want to fall behind, so she followed them directly. Even if they really met Sirius, with the strength of the three of them, they could at least fight. Oh no! Percy was extremely worried at this moment. It's just a mouse, Ron, why are you so worried? He wanted to rush out, but he had to stay to protect other students, so he could only sigh and prepare to go to Professor McGonagall after arranging everyone. Now the whole Hogwarts is under martial law, Sirius should not dare to jump out and hurt them. In the corridor, Dumbledore and Zhang Dong walked side by side. Dumbledore had no intention of looking for Sirius. He looked directly at Zhang Dong in front of him and asked, Zhang Dong, what's going on with Sirius? Since you know where he is, why don't you catch him? It should be no problem to take him down with your strength. No problem, but it's not necessary. After all, he won't hurt anyone in Hogwarts. Zhang Dong looked at the moon that was gradually rising outside the window, and he couldn't help but sigh, to read the violent novel, go to Falu Novel Network. It's about time. The moment Zhang Dong's voice fell, a huge light curtain appeared in the sky. It seems that this year's Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban is broadcasting at an unexpectedly fast pace. Halloween and Christmas haven't even arrived yet, and I'm about to broadcast the finale of this episode. It seems that the chain reaction brought about by my butterfly is getting stronger and stronger. James Potter, ha ha ha. The light curtain finally appeared again. Harry Potter, son, how are you doing recently? What are you doing now? Harry Potter, Dad, I'm helping my friend catch his pet mouse. James Potter, pet mouse? I hate mice. Percy Weasley, Ron Weasley, Ron. Come back soon. It's just a mouse. Why are you chasing him? It's dangerous outside now, don't you know? Sirius is in Hogwarts. James Potter, wait. How can Sirius be dangerous in Hogwarts? Are you afraid that he will bite people? No, he is quite docile. Cornely Fudge, he is docile? He is the most dangerous criminal in the whole of England. And he is escaping from prison. He is the most dangerous person. James Potter, nonsense. How did Sirius become a criminal? Cornely Fudge, hey? Mr. Potter, what are you talking about? Don't you know why he is a criminal? James Potter, I know. What do I know? James really knows nothing. He died too early. How could he know what happened after his death? And at this moment, the light screen began to play. In the Three Broomsticks Tavern, 3 figures are sitting inside. Everyone knows these three people. After all, they are celebrities in the whole of England. Minister of Magic, Cornelius Fudge. Headmaster of Hogwarts Gryffindor, Minerva McGonagall. And the landlady of the Three Broomsticks, Madame Rosmerta. Of course, the three of them are not the focus, because in the light screen perspective, there is another figure hiding in an invisibility cloak. He is also known by everyone, Harry Potter. Cornelius Fudge, what's going on? What's the situation? When did this happen? Madame Rosmerta, it's obviously the future, but I don't know why I'm on camera, obviously I'm just an ordinary landlady. Only Minerva McGonagall felt something was wrong. She remembered the cruel truth that she had never told Harry, and she couldn't help but secretly said, not good. Mrs. Rosmerta closed the door, then she looked at the two people in front of her and asked, tell me, what happened? Professor McGonagall sighed and explained, many years ago, Harry Potter's parents found themselves being hunted by Voldemort, so they hid away. You know about this, right? Yes, I know. Mrs. Rosmerta nodded. This was big news that swept the whole of England. How could she not know about it? That's the problem. Professor McGonagall continued to explain, they hid, no one knew where they were hiding, but Sirius betrayed them to the you-know-who. Sirius Black, I didn't. Umbridge, oh, haha, every prisoner will say that, but unfortunately, in the face of the truth, even the most perfect sophistry will appear to be full of loopholes. Sirius Black, I've said it. It wasn't me who betrayed James. James Potter, that's right. I finally understand what happened. Damn it. You misunderstood Beep. At that time, we cast the Fidelius charm. Secret Keeper 183 didn't choose Beep. It was Beep. But we didn't expect Beep to betray us. Oh. Shit. Why can't I say their names? Zhang Dong rolled his eyes at him. My video is ready. How could I let you spoil it? Watch the video slowly. Fudge couldn't help it at this time, he also added, that night, Black took the mysterious man to James Potter's residence and killed their friend, Peter Shorty. Rosmerta, Peter Shorty. Professor McGonagall nodded, it's the short and fat boy who always follows Sirius Black. Rosmerta remembered that Peter Shorty had no sense of existence compared to his friends, the best seeker James, Sirius who betrayed the family, and the excellent Gryffindor prefect Remus Lupin. I remember, but what happened? Professor McGonagall took a sip of butterbeer to moisten her throat and continued, Peter received the news and wanted to inform his friends, but unfortunately, he met Sirius Black. Professor McGonagall couldn't continue, after all, they were all her students, but Cornelius Fudge didn't have this concern. He also poured himself a glass of beer and said, he killed Peter. And he destroyed his body. A finger. When we found him, he only had one finger left. Sirius Black, nonsense. All nonsense. You don't know. You don't know anything. Forget it. It doesn't matter, anyway, I don't need to prove anything to you. Tonight. Everything will end. Harry looked at the light curtain in the sky. At this moment, his eyes were red. He gritted his teeth and clenched his fists. He betrayed his father. If it weren't for him, his father would never die. It's him. He is the culprit of everything. In the office, Lupin looked at the light curtain and silently picked up his wand. You are right, Sirius. Tonight, everything must be resolved. James, Peter, I will avenge you. After that, Lupin was ready to rush out to fight Sirius to the death. He didn't even prepare to drink the medicine. He thought that if he couldn't beat Sirius in spells, he might as well turn into a werewolf and bite him to death. And just as Lupin rushed out of the office, the light curtain in the sky suddenly began to flicker, and then turned into another picture. In a corner of Hogwarts, 3 figures were gathering together, and they were Harry and the twins of the Weasley family. CFFJ. George, an early Christmas gift for you. Fred confirmed that there was no one around, then took out a parchment booklet from his arms and handed it to Harry. Harry flipped through the booklet, but there was nothing in it, which made Harry suspect that this was another prank by the Weasley twins. Don't look at us like that, Harry. This is the secret of our success. George looked at the parchment reluctantly. Fred also nodded, we really don't want to give it to you. Explain, George. George nodded, he pulled out his wand and tapped the parchment lightly and said, I solemnly swear that I will not do bad things. To read the violent novels, go to Falu Novel Network. After that, from the center of the parchment, patterns drawn with ink began to spread, and the scenes of the astronomy tower, the defense against the dark arts classroom, the potions classroom, the principal's office, and Hogwarts began to appear, and there were also footprints walking in them. Severus Snape, Albus Dumbledore, Minerva McGonagall, Newt Scamander. And at the top, there are 2 lines of green font. Moony, Wormtail, Padfoot and Prongs. Specially launched to help magic prank makers. Marauder's map. James Potter, it's the Marauder's map. I really miss it. Harry Potter, Dad, you know this thing. James Potter, of course, this is the prop that the 4 of us made with great effort. We used more than a dozen spells such as the ESP, the dust removal, and the anti-apparition charm. As long as you open it, you can see the movement trajectory of everyone in Hogwarts. What a pity. Harry Potter, what a pity. James Potter, that day, I was not careful and it was confiscated by Filch. Harry Potter. Good guy, it turns out that this thing was made by you guys. Fred Weasley, so this map is yours? Then we give it back to Harry and it can be regarded as returning it to its original owner. George Weasley, that's right, anyway, we don't need this thing now. Filch, so. How did you steal it from me? I remember. It was the time you threw the dung balls in the corridor. Right. Fred Weasley, this. George Weasley, haha, that. After Harry got the Marauder's map, he often studied it. At night, when he opened the Marauder's map and began to study it, he suddenly saw a name on the map, a name that should never appear. Peter Shorty. What? Looking at the name on the screen, Lupin, who had just run out, was stunned in an instant. Peter Shorty. Impossible. Isn't he dead? Unless. Minerva McGonagall, Peter Shorty? How could it be, isn't he dead? Severus Snape, it should be broken. What good things can they make? Cornelius Fudge, yes, Professor McGonagall, Do you expect that a magic prop made by a group of fifth-year wizards can really monitor the entire Hogwarts? And it hasn't broken down for so many years. Remus Lupin, the Marauder's map will not be wrong. Umbridge, you are not authoritative, Professor Remus Lupin. Cornely Fudge, okay Umbridge, since he said so, let's keep watching. I believe the light curtain will give us an answer. Harry walked out of the common room. He used the fluorescent flash to illuminate the road in front of him with one hand, and held the Marauder's map in the other hand to look for the figure of Peter Shorty. Enter. Harry saw that the two people on the Marauder's map had come to one place. If everything was okay, they should be standing face to face now. However, there was no figure in front of him. On the contrary, the name of Severus Snape was getting closer and closer to him. Umbridge, did you see it? Sure enough, this thing is a defective product. You can't even see it face to face. Could it be that Peter Shorty has turned into a ghost? Cornely Fudge, okay Umbridge, don't be unreasonable. After all, it's just the work of a group of little wizards. Isn't it normal to have some problems? Rita Skeeter, I feel. Forget it, just pretend I didn't say it. Rita guessed a possibility, animagus, but she didn't dare to say it out loud, because she was also an animagus who violated the rules. If someone associated it with her, it would be very troublesome. Harry immediately closed the Marauder's map, and at this time, Snape had come to Harry. You look exactly like your father, Potter. Turn your pockets out. Harry was so frightened that his whole body went cold, but he still took out the Marauder's map and handed it over. At this moment, he could only hope that Snape would not recognize the name of the Marauder's map. Ron gave it to me. He brought it from Hogsmeade last time. Ron Weasley. Ron, who was chasing Scabbers, could not help but look back at Harry helplessly. Harry, you are really my good brother. You really let me take the blame for everything. And Harry did not flinch either. He also did not forget how Ron pushed him out when he was riding Buckbeak. Snape looked at the Marauder's map in his hand. He took out his wand and tapped it. Show your true form. Unfortunately, the Marauder's map did not appear. On the contrary, it was still lines of text written in black ink appeared. Moonface salutes Professor Snape and implores him not to stick his big nose into other people's affairs. Prongs agrees with Moonface and adds that Snape is an ugly freak. A big glutton. Mr. Padfoot is shocked that such an idiot can become a professor. Mr. Wormtail says hello and implores you to wash your greasy hair. Severus Snape, James Potter, Sirius Black, Crams, Lupin, Shorty, Peter. The four of you, this guy. He really won't let me rest in peace even after he dies. Remus Lupin, although you say that, I'm not dead yet, Professor Snape. Sirius Black, ha ha ha. I'm not dead either, you idiot who doesn't wash your hair. James Potter, alas, why am I the only one who died, leaving Harry alone to be bullied by this guy? Remus Lupin, don't worry, I'm still here, I will help you take care of Harry, James. Sirius Black, alas. He also wanted to say that, but unfortunately, in his current situation, it is difficult for him to take care of himself. Zhang Dong saw this and stopped playing the video, but directly switched to live broadcast. The prophecy cannot be used as evidence, but the live broadcast can. After all, this is witnessed by all wizards in the whole of England. Molly Weasley, why did you suddenly change to live broadcast? Arthur Weasley, I don't know either. Wait. That's Ron. What are you doing? Outside the castle, a mouse is running madly. This Hogwarts can no longer stay, Sirius Black is here. He almost broke into the Gryffindor common room today. And Zhang Dong's pet cat. It found that this cat has been looking at it with murderous eyes. Animagus knows Animagus too well. He dares to confirm that the cat named Yumi is Black's accomplice. The Gryffindor common room is no longer safe, what else can he do except run? However, its short legs still couldn't outrun Ron after all, and Ron pounced forward and directly hugged Scabbers in his arms. Ron Weasley, finally caught it. I don't know why, but Scabbers has been acting weird lately. Molly Weasley, Ron. Don't worry about the mouse. Run. Run. Hey? Ron didn't understand. He turned around and saw that it was their old friend, the Whomping Willow, above his head. And that's not all. Ron also saw that behind Harry and Hermione, a big black dog was staring at them. Harry. Ron shouted to remind Harry and Hermione, and Harry subconsciously pulled out his wand. However, the black dog jumped high over Harry's head and pounced on Ron. Go! Ah! Ron screamed, and the black dog bit one of his legs fiercely, and then dragged him towards the whomping willow. It was only then that Harry discovered that there was a hole with a diameter of 1 meter under the whomping willow. Harry! Help! Ron was dragged into the hole and disappeared. Molly Weasley, Ron! Sirius Black, what are you doing? What are you going to do to my son? Arthur Weasley, Sirius Black. If you dare to hurt my son, I will make you pay the price. The Weasleys were going crazy. At this time, if you can't see that this black dog is Sirius's animagus, you will be a fool. Unfortunately, Sirius couldn't listen to them at this time. Ron was dragged into the tree hole. Harry and Hermione rushed over. But just after Harry ran a few steps, he felt a heavy blow on his face from nowhere. Get down! Hermione reminded Harry quickly, but it was too late. Harry had already completely flown out. Sprout, no. It's the whomping willow. With its character, once the target enters its attack range, it will continue to attack the target until it is hammered into a pulp. James Potter, hurry up, son. There is a scar on the whomping willow. Press it to stop it. Harry Potter, Dad. You, cough cough, think too highly of me. That's the whomping willow. The vines are waving tightly, and I don't know animagus, so how can I get close to it? Minerva McGonagall, Harry, hold on. I'll come and help you. Professor McGonagall's reaction was very fast, but there was a figure that was faster than her. At this time, Snape had already flown towards the whomping willow. Flying. In the entire Harry Potter series, only Voldemort and Snape knew this magic, which could be said to be Snape's trump card, but at this moment, he didn't care about exposing it at all. Dead Sundara. Zhang Dong looked at Snape, who was going away. He couldn't help but mutter, and then said to Dumbledore beside him, "Can you go over and take a look?" Me? Forget it, I believe you are enough. Dumbledore blinked at Zhang Dong, and then walked directly to the hall. It seems that the children don't have to sleep in the hall today. Who? 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 The whomping willow was still waving its vines. Hermione had no way to deal with it. She could only jump there to skip rope to find a way to rush into the tree hole. However, she could dodge countless times, but for the whomping willow, just one success was enough. Buzz! Buzz! 2 consecutive vines were waving at the same time. Hermione could only dodge the first one. The second one had already come in front of her and she couldn't dodge it. Ah! Hermione couldn't help but scream. No matter how brave she was just a 13 or 14-year-old girl. How could she not be afraid of being hit by the whomping willow? At this time, she had only one thought in her mind. It would be great if Zhang Dong was here. However, Zhang Dong did not appear like the prince in the fairy tale, but another blue-green figure blocked her way. Ouch! With a cry, a tiny bird snake rushed out from Hermione's arms. The bird snake grew in the wind and grew to more than 10 meters long in the blink of an eye. Nevis Mountain! Hermione called its name in surprise. Although Zhang Dong did not show up, the pet he gave her was still in her side to protect her. Ah! The bird snake chirped, and then with a flick of its tail, it shook the vines of the whomping willow away. Well done, Mount Nevis! Hermione looked at her bird snake in surprise. Without realizing it, had it become so strong? Ho ho ho! The whomping willow seemed to be enraged, and it waved its vines faster. However, the bird snake is a magnificent XXXX magical creature, how could it be afraid of a tree? As soon as the bird snake moved its body, the whole snake body tightly wrapped around the trunk and vines of the whomping willow, making the tree, which was so majestic just now, unable to move. Newt Scamander, beautiful. This bird snake is so well trained. It looks like it's only 2 years old, but it already has such strength. Sprout, it's my whomping willow. Oh, it seems I have to treat it again. Rubo Hagrid, thank goodness Professor Sprout, if Zhang Dong was here, he would have burned the whomping willow to ashes with a blazing flame. Sprout, if you say so, then I should be thankful, after all, he can really do such a thing. Zhang Dong. He always felt that his character was doubted. Is he such a person who doesn't know the difference between the important and the unimportant? At most, he would use the split into pieces to cut it into 2 pieces. The whomping willow is also a willow tree. It can still recover after a few decades of care. But Zhang Dong did feel nervous just now. Harry was beaten twice, so he was thick-skinned. But if the bird snake hadn't been there, he would have really attacked Hermione. Hermione. To read the exciting novel, go to Novel Network. Harry also got up from the ground at this time. He immediately ran to the tree hole under the whomping willow, waved to Hermione, and then jumped down and jumped in. Nevis Mountain. Hermione waved to the bird snake, and then followed the sky down. The passage was very long, and the two seemed to be sitting on a long slide. When they landed, they realized that they had unknowingly come to a strange place. Hermione looked around. Through the dilapidated windows and old floors, she had guessed where they were now. We are in the Shrieking Shack, right? Yet. Harry nodded, then took out his wand and touched forward carefully. James Potter, alas! I never thought that our secret base would be exposed. Cornely Fudge, so, this most famous haunted house in England is actually your secret base? So, has Sirius been hiding here? Notify the Dementors and Aurors to capture Sirius immediately. Rufus Scrimgeour, John Dawlish, Prout, Gadwin Roberts, Kingsley Shacklebolt, Nymphadora Tonks, Williamson. Set off immediately. John Dawlish, Prout, Gadwin Roberts, Kingsley Shacklebolt, Nymphadora Tonks, Williamson, got it, Mr. Rufus. 2 elite Aurors led the team, a total of 7 Aurors attacked at the same time. 5.6, even Sirius Black couldn't escape. Harry held the cane in one hand and pushed the door open with the other hand, only to see Ron sitting on the bed holding a mouse. Ron. Harry and Hermione rushed over, but Ron said quickly, Harry. This is a trap. He is an animagus. He is Sirius Black. Harry pointed behind them, and Harry and Hermione turned around quickly. The door that had just been opened was closed, and they saw a figure staring at them. The messy hair fell to his shoulders, his eye sockets were deep and his skin was pale. He had suffered a lot at first glance, but his eyes seemed to be glowing. He looked at Harry and smiled. His teeth were yellow and the smile was scary. Sirius Black. Molly Weasley, Sirius Black. Stop it. What are you trying to do to the children? Arthur Weasley, can I apply to be stationed in Hogwarts? This Hogwarts is too unsafe. Minerva McGonagall, Mr. Weasley, please rest assured that the children will be fine. Believe us. Hogwarts is still the safest place in the world. Albus Dumbledore, just like last year and before, we faced Tom head-on, and it was still okay. Molly Weasley, that's because Zhang Dong was there, but this time Zhang Dong's kid wasn't here. Lily Potter, that's right Molly, don't worry, nothing will happen. As soon as Lily Potter finished speaking, Sirius in the light curtain had already moved. Sirius walked towards Harry and the other two in front of him step by step. Seeing Sirius's actions, Hermione quickly protected the two behind her and shouted. If you want to kill Harry, kill us all together. No, only one person will die tonight. Sirius smiled with a cracked mouth. Seeing Sirius like this, Harry became even more angry. He pushed Hermione away and rushed over directly. That's you. Harry rushed out. He forgot the spell and forgot that he was just a 13-year-old wizard. He rushed up with his little fists. Looking at Harry rushing over, Sirius seemed to have no reaction. This Azkaban prisoner who had experienced countless battles actually forgot to use those powerful spells, and was even pinned to the ground by this 13-year-old boy without even resisting. Zhang Dong, this. Sirius, aren't you letting him off too much? James Potter, as expected of my son, he is indeed a pure Gryffindor. Severus Snape, that's right, he doesn't need to use his wand to fight with others, he is indeed a brainless Gryffindor. James Potter, Snape, that's my son's cleverness. What is Sirius' strength? Can Harry beat him in magic? In fact, he has a better chance of winning in a hand-to-hand fight. Severus Snape, it's always a bunch of twisted logic, and if I remember correctly, Sirius seems to be Harry's godfather. This scene is really a loving father and a filial son. Tom Riddle, Harry. Use the wand. Release Avatar. If you don't know how to do it, you can ask Zhang Dong to teach you. I dare say that kid will definitely do it. Zhang Dong, Tom Riddle, why are you everywhere? You have nothing to do this year, don't jump out to seek a sense of existence. As Harry bravely charged, Sirius was actually pressed down by Harry without any resistance. He took out the wand from his arms and pointed it at Sirius' neck. The neck is so fragile that no advanced spells are needed. Just a low-level shattering or splitting spell can kill people. However, facing Harry's wand, Sirius laughed happily. Are you going to kill me, Harry? Looking at the still arrogant Sirius, Harry finally couldn't help it. He raised his wand and was about to cast a spell, but the next second, the door was pushed open. Expelliarmus. The wand in Harry's hand fell directly from his hand. Harry turned around and saw Remus Lupin had already rushed in. He nodded gently to Harry to signal Harry to calm down first. Harry looked at Lupin who came in. He was also a little scared of his impulsiveness just now. He calmed himself down and stood up. Lupin continued to point his wand at Sirius in front of him. Well, Sirius, you have become so sloppy now. This appearance finally matches your inner madness. Don't you know what your inner madness is like, Remus? Sirius was still stubborn in the face of Lupin's wand. Just when Harry thought Lupin would directly solve him with a spell, the next second, Lupin suddenly retracted his wand, a smile appeared on his face, and then he stretched out his hand to pull Sirius up. Then, the two of them hugged each other very warmly, like old friends who had not seen each other for many years. Harry, Ron, and Hermione were stunned. They looked at the scene in front of them blankly, as if they had not yet reacted to the sudden situation just now. Harry Potter, why? Why? Lupin. I trust you so much. Hermione Granger, Harry, don't you see it yet? They are in the same group. I know that there will not be a good person as the Professor of Defense against the Dark Arts. Quirrell. Lockhart. Dinah Hecate, alas, how come the reputation of our defense against the Dark Arts class at Hogwarts has become like this? Harry Potter, but why? Remus Lupin, aren't you also a friend of my father and mother? Why are you helping him? Severus Snape, okay, Mr. Potter, can't you see it clearly? The four of them back then, they are just a bunch of bad friends. James Potter, I didn't know how to refute for a moment. Sirius Black, okay. Stop arguing. Enough. It's time to end it. Don't waste any more time. I found him. I finally found him. Remus Lupin, Sirius, calm down first, wait a little longer, 150. Sirius Black, enough. I've been calm for 12 years. In Azkaban. Remus Lupin, okay. To read the exciting novels, go to Novel Network. Lupin said nothing more. He understood that Sirius had been waiting for this moment for too long. Lupin handed the wand to Sirius. He knew that only by letting Sirius do it himself could he release his anger. But Lupin still he motioned Sirius to wait a moment and then said. But wait a minute, Harry has the right to know why all this happened. I know. It's him. He killed my parents. Harry shouted. He was desperate at the moment. Facing two top wizards, he had no chance to avenge his father. But looking at this silly child, Lupin said helplessly. No, Harry. Someone betrayed your parents. But it wasn't him. The murderer was someone else, and I just found out recently. Harry Potter, who? Peter Shorty. Sirius finally called out the name, he's not dead at all. He's right here. Come out. Peter. Hearing this name, all the audience were stunned. Wait, who is he talking about? Peter Shorty? Didn't he die a long time ago? Old Mrs. Peter, what nonsense are you talking about? You actually slandered my son. What right do you have to do this? He is a true hero. The Ministry of Magic awarded him the Medal of Heroes. Right. Cornelius Fudge. Cornelius Fudge, this, is correct, but I don't know much about this matter. After all, the Minister of Magic at that time was Millicent Barnold. Old Mrs. Peter, what do you mean? Minister Fudge. Are you shirking responsibility? Cornelius Fudge, Ms. Old Peter, I am just stating a fact. Cornelius Fudge is such a shrewd person, he has already sensed that something is wrong. Years of political experience made him subconsciously throw the pot away first, at least this matter cannot fall on his head. James Potter, Peter. Don't play dumb. Come out. Come out. That's right. Sirius Black also shouted, Peter. I know you are here. Don't hide. Come out and play. Sirius Black saw that Peter was still pretending to be dead, and he finally couldn't help it. He raised his wand and prepared to take action. At this moment, a figure suddenly rushed in. It was Severus Snape who had been rushing here. Expelliarmus. Sniper attacked from behind, and was a wizard of Snape's level. Sirius had no time to react before his wand was removed. In an instant, the offensive and defensive situation was reversed. Ah, revenge is really a pleasure. I finally caught you as I wished. Severus. Lupin wanted to say something when he saw that the situation was not good, but Snape didn't listen at all. He pointed his wand at Lupin and made him hold back what he was about to say. Lupin could only stand beside Sirius, wiping his nose awkwardly. And Snape continued to say proudly, Remus Lupin, I told Dumbledore a long time ago that you can't be trusted. Sure enough, this scene is the proof. Sirius was not afraid of being pointed at by Snape with a wand and said, your keen insight is wrong again. James Potter, hey! Ugly! What are you doing? You Death Eater are really bad. Severus Snape, shut up. Damn James! I'm protecting your annoying son now. James Potter, Remus and little Sirius won't hurt Harry. Lily Potter, why is this happening? You three are obviously protecting Harry. Severus Snape, Lily. I am the one protecting Harry, and the two of them are hurting them. Sirius Black, shut up, you who don't wash your hair. Don't talk nonsense here if you don't know anything. Severus Snape, I don't wash my hair? Look at your messy and dirty hair and yellow teeth before you talk. Sirius Black, I don't have time to take care of it. Wait for me to take a shower, brush your teeth and change clothes, let's see who is more handsome between us. Remus Lupin, I believe this. Sirius was the handsome guy who swept the whole school back then, and he is still a handsome guy when he is old. Sirius Black, oh Remus, as expected, you still understand me. Who is more handsome between Sirius and Snape? Zhang Dong thought about it. To be honest, he felt that Snape was more handsome when he was young, but the old Sirius was more elegant and graceful. Now Snape looks like a fatter version of Shen Teng. Enough! Sirius shouted, Remus and I have important things to do. Please explain. Snape was not stupid, he also felt something was wrong. He didn't care whether Sirius was wronged or not, he cared about who betrayed Lily. He wanted that person to die without a burial place after experiencing the most brutal torture. Seeing this, Lupin hurriedly said, Severus, don't do stupid things. Sirius responded subconsciously, he is used to being stupid. Can't control it. Remus Lupin, I trademark. Sirius, I'm speaking for you, didn't you hear it? Sirius Black, sorry, I'm used to it. I can't control myself when I see this big nose. Severus Snape, you guys. Stop giving me nicknames. Ugly, big nose, don't wash your hair, how many nicknames do you have waiting for me? Lupin couldn't help it, Sirius, shut up first. Sirius, shut up, Remus. Lupin covered his face in pain. Well, I knew that this guy couldn't be persuaded. Snape couldn't help but tease, you two are just like an old couple quarreling. Sirius, you'd better go back and make your potion. Snape angrily pressed his wand against Sirius' chin. This guy finally wore out his last patience. I can kill you, but let the Dementors do it. They must miss you. Oh. You seem scared. Yes, it must be very uncomfortable. Some people say that the scene is horrible, but I still want to see it with my own eyes. After saying this, Snape signaled with his eyes that Harry could use his wand to deal with this guy who damned his mother. And Harry was not polite. He took the wand from Hermione and walked towards Sirius step by step. Expelliarmus. To read the exciting novel, go to Novel Network. Bang! With a hateful blow, Harry's Expelliarmus actually broke through to an advanced level at this moment. Unexpectedly, Snape was actually bounced out by a wand. The effect was much better than fainting. James Potter, well done Harry. Seamus, Mano Zhao, Finnegan, how did Harry do it? The weapon that kills you has the effect of killing you. Hermione Granger, Harry, what are you doing? Why are you attacking the teacher? Severus Snape, good job Harry, I must deduct Gryffindor, 100 points. Even if he is dying, Snape will deduct Harry Potter to death. I am helping you, Tima. Why are you hitting me? Flitwick, I don't know why, I suddenly feel like laughing now. Sprout, no, Phileas, we are colleagues with Severus, we can't laugh. Phileas Flitwick, okay, okay. Ha ha ha. Soon. In the charms office, Flitwick finally couldn't help laughing at this moment. It's so funny to see Snape being humiliated. After Harry sent Snape flying with a kill shot, he said directly to Sirius and Remus Lupin in front of him, "Tell me. What happened back then?" Sirius, "He was our classmate before." Lupin, "We considered him a friend." Harry Potter, "But he's dead." "You killed him?" Harry questioned Sirius. "No, he didn't." Remus Lupin walked directly in front of Sirius and blocked Harry's wand with his body, and then he said, "I thought he was dead, but you saw that his name appeared on the Marauder's map on the screen. Isn't that the Marauder's map wrong?" "That map is never wrong." Sirius walked out from behind Lupin, he looked in Ron's direction and shouted loudly, "He's still alive. Right here." "Me?" "Ron," he looked at Sirius in disbelief, "You are crazy. How could it be me?" Sirius looked at him speechlessly, and he pointed directly at the mouse in Ron's arms and said, "It's not you. It's your rat." 407 Impossible. Ron hugged the rat in his arms tightly. This was his favorite pet. "Scabber has lived in my house more than 10 years. Can a rat live that long?" Everyone present was speechless after Sirius said this. Molly Weasley, "Can't mice live for 12 years? Arthur Weasley, "This, dear, I don't know either. Who cares how long a mouse can live?" Newt Scamander, "Let me tell you. As far as I know, there are more than 1,700 species of mice in the world. The longest they can live is 3 years, and the shortest is no more than 1 year." Bill Weasley, "What doesn't that mean?" Percy Weasley, "How can this be?" Looking at the shocked Weasley family, Zhang Dong was speechless. This family is really thick-skinned. That's right, otherwise Peter would not choose to lurk in their house. Ron, "That doesn't mean anything. Maybe Scabbers has the blood of magical animals in his body." Abd, Sirius looked at Ron with disappointment. Why was this kid so stubborn? Well, look at his feet. He has only 1 toe. Ron still didn't understand. "Yeah, so what? What? Did you know that the Ministry of Magic only found a toe? The coward cut it off and made everyone think he was dead. Then he turned into a mouse." Cornelie Fudge, "What? I understand. You mean Peter Pettigrew is an illegal animagus?" Sirius Black, "That's right. You finally understand. Just because of your incompetence. I was locked up by you for 12 years. Cornelie Fudge, Sirius Black, calm down first. Now, what I need is proof. I can assure you. Although this matter was handled by Minister Millicent Barnold, as long as you can prove your words, I will definitely correct Minister Millicent Barnold's mistakes. And give you justice on behalf of Minister Millicent Barnold." Fudge said Millicent Barnold 3 times in a row. He was telling everyone that this matter had nothing to do with me, it was all done by Millicent Barnold. You can find him if you want to find him. Sirius walked up and snatched Scabbers from Ron's arms, while Ron was still shouting, "No! What are you going to do to Scabbers? Let him go!" How could Sirius and Lupin listen to him? They threw Scabbers onto the table and then operated him. However, Scabbers was running around like crazy at this moment, refusing to let the 2 people's apparition spell fall on him. It used its flexible body to get out of a hole in the wall of the Shrieking Shack. However, how could Sirius and Lupin let him escape? To read the novel, go to Novel Network. The 2 aimed their wands at it at the same time. A blue light flashed, and the mouse that was about to escape suddenly began to swell up. First, there was a bald head, wrinkled and looked wretched. His skin was also dirty, but his body was quite fat. It could be seen that Ron fed him well. Minerva McGonagall, Peter Pettigrew. It's really him. Oh my god. Sprout, I think everything is clear now. We may have really misunderstood Sirius. Oh my god, that child, how much grievance did he have to go through? Flitwick, 12 years. He was imprisoned in Azkaban for 12 years. He had to endure the absorption of Dementors every day. Oh my god. Ministry of Magic. What on earth have you done? Umbridge, wait a minute. This matter has not been concluded yet. Even if Peter Shorty is not dead, it does not mean that Sirius Black is innocent. He betrayed James Potter and joined that man. Ron Weasley, so, none of you care about me? I hold it every day, eat and sleep with it, and I even kissed it. Ugh. No. I'm going to vomit. Help. Fred Weasley, poor Ron. Fortunately, I didn't want this mouse. George Weasley, poor Ron. I don't know why I suddenly want to laugh. Percy Weasley, you two shut up. Fred Weasley, I almost forgot that it was your pet at first. George Weasley, that means you have hugged, kissed, and slept with such a man. Fleur Delacour, hug, kiss, sleep, so disgusting. Percy Weasley, stop it, stop it. I'm going to kill him. Don't stop me. Sirius Black, kill him? That's not your turn. Sirius and Lupin pulled Peter Pettigrew back, and both pointed their wands at him at the same time. At this moment, the two of them couldn't wait to smash him to pieces and send him to see James. Looking at the two men who were aggressive, he quickly said in a pleading tone, Remus, Sirius, my old friends, long time no see. Unfortunately, it's a bit late to get close to him at this time. James Potter, oh my god. I can finally speak. Peter. You. Come down and keep me company. Cornely Fudge, James Potter, what's going on? James Potter, well, back then, we wanted Sirius to be our secret keeper. But Sirius still felt that it was not safe, so for the safety of Lily and me, he decided to hide it from the world. On the surface, he was the secret keeper to attract all the Death Eaters, but in fact, he secretly let Peter be our secret keeper, and the result was. In the light curtain, Peter Pettigrew sat on the ground as if he had lost all his strength, and he wailed. What can I do? What can I do? You don't know how terrible the power of that adult is. James. I'm not as brave as you, Sirius, and Remus, what can I do? Stop talking nonsense. Sirius interrupted him, I found out later. You had secretly passed on information to him for a year before that. You betrayed us long ago. You don't understand at all. I'm doing this for your own good. What's the benefit of resisting that adult? It would be the same if it were you. I would rather die than betray my friends. Sirius shouted angrily, he finally admitted it. At this moment, all the anger of more than 10 years surged into his heart. Lupin also pointed his wand at him, you should have known that there would be such a day. Even if Voldemort didn't kill you, we would kill you for James. No. Peter shouted at the light curtain, James. You don't want me to die, do you? We used to be best friends. You definitely don't want me to die. James Potter, Peter, if you just betrayed me, I wouldn't blame you, but... You killed Lily. You made Harry without a mother since childhood. I can forgive you. But I can't forgive you for Harry and Lily. Severus Snape, you finally said something sensible. Cornely Fudge, no. You can't do this. Sirius Black, Remus Lupin, you two have no power to enforce the law. Believe me, hand him over to me, I will judge him fairly. Don't you want to give Sirius justice? Sirius Black, I don't care. James Potter, but I care. Sirius, I am sorry for you, you can't bear it for me anymore. James' words are still very useful. Sirius Black calmed down his restless mood. They looked at Harry. After all, Harry was the real party involved, and they respected Harry's decision. Harry looked at Remus Lupin and Sirius in front of him. At this moment, he was extremely excited. He knew for the first time that his father had two such good friends. I listened to my father. He was right. He didn't want his two best friends to become murderers. Raoul. Peter rushed to Ron, hugged Ron's thigh and shouted, Ron! Save me! I am your best pet. Have you forgotten? Go away. I actually sleep with you every day. I feel sick just thinking about it now. Ron kicked Peter away. Percy Weasley, well done. Ron. Molly Weasley, Ron, that's right, well done. Ron Weasley, then, can you buy me another pet? I don't even have an owl now. Molly Weasley, the weather is really nice today. Ron Weasley. Harry and Sirius supported Ron and walked towards Hogwarts step by step. Ron's leg was bitten by Sirius and it hurt. It seems that he needs to go back to Madame Pomfrey for treatment. Sirius Black, I'm sorry, I'm usually very docile when I become a dog. Ron Weasley, you almost bit off my leg. Sirius Black, well, as compensation, I'll give you an owl after this is over. Really? Ron's eyes lit up, and he felt his legs didn't hurt at all. But seeing Sirius, who looked even shabbier than himself, he doubted whether he could give him an owl. 0 seeking flowers 0. James Potter, Ron, don't worry. Although Sirius is a little down and out now, he is actually very rich. Sirius Black, yes, I am not short of money. I have the wealth of the entire Black family. Regulus Black, hey, hey, hey. That's all mine. Mine. Sirius Black, aren't you dead? Legally, the money is mine now. Regulus Black, me. Regulus really had nothing to say. After all, according to reason, the Black family's money, including Creaker's, belonged to Sirius. Because after his death, all the money was in Sirius' name. Although he is now resurrected, the money will not be returned to him just because he is alive. So angry. Regulus looked at this scene angrily. Sirius and the others finally walked out of the whomping willow tree hole with Harry. Sirius also touched the big tree. He knew that from tonight, a brand new life was waiting for him. What a beautiful night, what a beautiful moon, what a beautiful Hogwarts. Wait. The moon. Sirius immediately realized that something was wrong, and he turned around and ran towards Remus. At this time, Remus was already stiff and pale. Under the cold moonlight, his body began to twitch. Sirius immediately ran towards Remus, and he hugged Lupin's arm tightly. Old friend. Didn't you take your medicine tonight? Control yourself. Don't I am going to lose myself. Unfortunately, it's useless. Werewolf is a disease, and it's not something you can get over by relying on willpower. Ah! A voice that doesn't belong to humans came out of Remus Lupin's mouth. Then, Lupin's body expanded rapidly, and his entire body became more than 2 meters long, and his cheeks began to stretch continuously. A terrifying and hideous werewolf appeared under the moonlight. Remus Lupin. Transformed. Draco Malfoy, wait. Our defense against the dark arts professor. It's a werewolf. And Vincent Crabbe, wolf, werewolf. Professor Lupin is actually a werewolf. Narcissa Malfoy, Albus Dumbledore. How can you let a werewolf be the defense against the dark arts professor? This is too irresponsible to the students. Albus Dumbledore, Narcissa, is there any law that says that werewolves cannot be the defense against the dark arts professor at Hogwarts? If not, why can't Lupin be a professor at our Hogwarts? He is qualified to be a professor at our college in terms of teaching level and personal ability. I don't think I need to explain anything to you. Lucius Malfoy, what should we do in this situation now? Who will be responsible for the safety of the students? Lucius is not concerned about the safety of Harry and the others. He would not care if the 3 of them died, and he even wanted to laugh. He just wanted to use the topic to pull Dumbledore down. Dumbledore certainly knew this truth. Albus Dumbledore, don't worry, Lucius, everything is under control. Someone has already taken care of it. Lucius Malfoy, who? Minerva McGonagall? She's too old to run there in time. Molly Weasley, don't worry about anything else. Look. Peter is running away. Everyone looked at the light screen. While Lupin was turning into a werewolf, Peter Pettigrew's body suddenly began to shrink. Harry reacted and wanted to take out his wand to chase him immediately. Unfortunately, the angry Lupin prevented Harry from moving forward. Everyone could only watch Peter Pettigrew slowly turn into a mouse and disappear into the night in a flash. He even waved to Harry and the others before leaving and said goodbye triumphantly. Arthur Weasley, ah! Peter! Damn it! He actually let him run away. Molly Weasley, calm down Arthur, in this situation, the safety of Harry and the others is more important. Kingsley Shacklebolt, it's okay Arthur, I promise you, we will definitely catch him. James Potter, compared to this, I want to ask, can you clear Sirius innocence? Cornelie Fudge, I'm sorry, Mr. Potter, without a trial, we haven't even seen Peter Pettigrew in person, in this case we can't make a not guilty verdict for Sirius. James Potter, what kind of nonsense is this? Can't you see it? Sirius is innocent. Cornelie Fudge, but all this is just a demonstration of the light curtain. We need witnesses. The trial institutions in the wizarding world are extremely rigid, but this is understandable. Just like in the Muggle world, when a judge sees a criminal admit his crime on a live broadcast, he still has to hold a trial before he can make a formal verdict. Otherwise, where is the legal basis? Harry Potter, but Peter has already run away. At this moment, Harry gnashed his teeth as he looked at the place where Peter Pettigrew disappeared. He had never thought of himself as incompetent. He couldn't help but wonder, what would happen if Zhang Dong was here? With his strength, he would definitely let Peter Pettigrew escape. But he didn't have time to think about it. Ouch! Lupin threw Sirius away, and then rushed directly towards Harry and the other two. How could the trio deal with such a terrible monster? They could only tremble as the werewolf approached them. And at this moment, a black shadow directly blocked them. He used his body to protect the three children. Under the moonlight, Harry saw his face. Professor Snape. Lily Potter, Severus. Draco Malfoy, how is it possible? How could Professor Snape sacrifice himself to protect the three of them? He obviously hates them the most. Phileas Flitwick, Draco, this is Snape. Although he looks cold at ordinary times, he is our professor at Hogwarts. No matter when, our professor will stand up to protect students. This is our responsibility. Professor Quirrell. Professor Lockhart. Professor Flitwick, well, there are a few bad apples occasionally. Snape wanted to protect the three children, but unfortunately, his wand was just removed by Harry. He was no match for a werewolf with his bare hands. Ah! The werewolf waved his claws. Professor Snape was knocked to the ground directly. Ah! Hermione couldn't help but scream. Unfortunately, her scream couldn't scare the werewolf away. The werewolf continued to pounce. The three little ones' legs were a little weak. The werewolf's claws were already raised high, but at this moment, a voice sounded in the night sky. There are many obstacles. To read the exciting novel, go to Novel Network. Bang! An invisible barrier appeared in front of the three people. The werewolf's claws fell on the barrier, and the powerful magic actually shook the werewolf Lupin away 7 or 8 meters. Lupin, I got you so many medicines, it seems that I gave them to you in vain. In the dark night, a figure walked out. Looking at the figure coming, Hermione and the other two's eyes lit up immediately. Zhang Dong. Looking at Zhang Dong who suddenly appeared, Hermione suddenly felt like crying. Once again, whenever she was in danger, he always appeared in front of her like this. Zhang Dong slowly came to Hermione, stretched out his hand and gently rubbed Hermione's little head and said, "Go and rest aside, leave it to me to recover as before." Zhang Dong healed Ron's bitten leg with a recovery spell, and then turned his head walked towards the werewolf Lupin. Tom Riddle, okay, the battle is over. Gellert Grindelwald, you are quite optimistic about him. Tom Riddle, of course, he defeated me twice. Although it is just a remnant soul and the young me, he should not be unable to defeat a werewolf. Newt's commander, Zhang Dong, kid, be careful. The strength of a werewolf is 4.5, which is increased according to the improvement of the body's strength. With Lupin's strength, the top wizards who transformed into a werewolf are not opponents. And his magic resistance is very high. Pure magic is not very effective against him. Hearing Newt's words, Zhang Dong also nodded silently to show his understanding. Magic resistance is very high? Then, try physical attacks. The moment Zhang Dong's voice fell, his whole body suddenly changed. His hands turned into golden wings. His legs turned into strong and powerful claws. His eyes became more powerful. There seemed to be lightning flashing in his golden eyes. Ah! A cry resounded through the night sky. Then, a huge golden Thunderbird appeared in front of everyone. Animagus. Thunderbird. Animagus. Or Thunderbird. Looking at this scene on the screen, everyone was dumbfounded and couldn't say a word. James Potter, how is it possible? How can an animagus turn into a Thunderbird? Isn't that a magical animal? This doesn't conform to the law at all. Minerva McGonagall, this, Professor McGonagall held back the rest of her sentence. She was mainly thinking of the Garfield animagus that Zhang Dong had shown her before. As we all know, everyone can only have one kind of animagus. But now, Zhang Dong has two kinds. The so-called animagus law. It doesn't exist in him anymore. Rita Skeeter, Cornelie Fudge, Minister Fudge. Look. An illegal animagus. Why don't you arrest him and put him in Azkaban? Rita has been waiting for this moment for too long. She is an illegal animagus, and Zhang Dong has always held this handle against her. But now, she sees hope. It turns out that everyone is the same. 03THEN Why should I be afraid of you? Cornely Fudge, that's right. Zhang Dong is an illegal animagus. According to British law. Albus Dumbledore, wait a minute. Minister Fudge, who said Zhang Dong is an animagus? Cornely Fudge, hey. Fudge was dumbfounded. Albus, do you think I'm blind? This Thunderbird has changed, and you still think I didn't see it? However, Dumbledore said without flinching, Minister Fudge, you also came from Hogwarts and passed the transfiguration test. Don't you know the law of animagus? Professor McGonagall, it seems that you need to popularize the definition of animagus to everyone. Minerva McGonagall, okay Albus, animagus is a magical transformation that allows wizards to transform into ordinary animals while retaining their own magic and magic. A wizard can only transform into one animal, and in addition, he needs to pay attention to it. Is worth noting that animagus transformation is limited to non-magical creatures. Transforming into magical creatures such as thestrals, dragons, thunderbirds, etc. may bring unexpected consequences. Albus Dumbledore, I think Professor McGonagall has made it very clear that animagus can only transform into ordinary animals, and the Thunderbird that Zhang Dong has transformed into now obviously does not belong to the definition of ordinary animals. In this case, what basis do you have to define the magic that Zhang Dong is showing now as animagus? He is fully qualified to name this magic, such as Thunderbird Magus, Ptarmigan. Magus. Cornely Fudge. Damn, it makes sense. The name of animagus is that the wizard who invented this spell added the Latin word magus, wizard, to the English word anima, animal, to create animagus. So, in theory, this spell is only for animal transformation, not fantastic beasts. Of course, I can have a good debate with Dumbledore. But here comes the problem. Dumbledore is the former Transfiguration Professor of Hogwarts, and Professor McGonagall is the current Transfiguration Professor. My Transfiguration was taught by him. In addition, Hogwarts has authority. If he says it is called Thunderbird Mugs, then everyone will think it is Thunderbird Mugs. I will become the one who makes a specious argument. But if I just admit it, what about my authority? Minerva McGonagall, and our classmate Zhang Dong is a good boy. He wanted to register at the Ministry of Magic during the holidays, but was driven out by the then head, Ms. Umbridge. Many people present can prove this. Cornely Fudge, what? So that's how it is. Umbridge. Look at what you've done. I've told you a long time ago that you have to put away your arrogance. Because of your negligence, a good young man was almost imprisoned unjustly. Fine you 100 galleons. At the same time, your position will be demoted by half a level. To serve as a warning to others. Umbridge, but... Minister Fudge. He was only 12 years old. How could a 12-year-old child? Cornely Fudge, what's wrong with being 12 years old? Can't people be geniuses? Umbridge, I remind you again. Don't think that everyone can't do it just because you can't do it. Genius is always something you can't understand. Umbridge, okay, Minister Fudge, I accept your punishment. In the Ministry of Magic, Umbridge was about to bite her teeth to pieces. How could she not see that this was Cornelius Fudge's way of getting himself out of trouble? He didn't want to bow to Hogwarts, so he could only find someone to take the blame, and he was obviously the best person to take the blame. But what could he do? After all, he was the Minister of Magic. To read the exciting novels, go to Novel Network. Cornely Fudge. Albus Dumbledore. Minerva McGonagall. And that Zhang Dong kid. You wait for me. Umbridge growled angrily, then got up and paid the fine. Woo. My 100 galleons. Woo. My director of the Office of Improper Use of Magic. Zhang Dong didn't know at this moment that Umbridge had been severely tricked by 630 himself. He dared to use the Thunderbird avatar here because he was confident of his current strength and power. It's okay if you are sensible in the Ministry of Magic. If you are not sensible, the Goblet of Fire will be next year anyway. When Voldemort is resurrected, you can take advantage of the chaos and raise an army in Hogwarts to overthrow the Ministry of Magic. You Cornelius Fudge is a British wizard, and my Hermione is also a British wizard. You Fudge is the Minister of Magic. My Hermione can sit here too. If Zhang Dong is pissed off, he can really rush into the Ministry of Magic with 2 wands and send Cornelius Fudge to see Merlin. Ah! The cry of the Thunderbird resounded through the night sky, and the wings fluttered. The night sky, which was originally hung with a bright moon, was suddenly covered with dark clouds. Silver-white thunder rolled in the dark clouds, as if the end of the world was coming. That's Thunderbird! Ron shouted. How could the wizards who had seen fantastic beasts not recognize the Thunderbird in the sky? Sirius Black, who had just climbed up from the ground, was also dumbfounded. He was actually very proud of his animagus, but now, looking at the majestic magical beasts in the sky, he just wanted to go back to the Shrieking Shack and lock himself up. Comparing people with others can really make people angry. Ah! With the cry of the Thunderbird Jong-dong, a bolt of lightning as thick as a man struck directly at the werewolf Lupin below. Roar! The speed of the lightning was too fast. No matter how agile the werewolf was, it could not dodge it. It could only let the lightning fall on it. Oh! The werewolf Lupin wailed, and then his whole body turned into charcoal and fell straight down. So cool! Harry and Ron watched this scene with little stars in their eyes. This power is even stronger than the lightning spell. Of course, this is the innate talent of the Thunderbird. When the adult Thunderbird's talent is fully activated, it can bring a heavy rain to the whole New York. That is something that even the top weather spell cannot do. It's not that the level is not enough, but how can ordinary people have such sufficient magic power? Only a pervert like Jong-dong, who has 4.5 times the magic power of an ordinary wizard of the same age, can barely do it. Woo! A werewolf is indeed a werewolf. Even if it is struck like this, it can still struggle to stand up again. This is a werewolf. A werewolf with strong vitality. Ah! Thunderbird Jong-dong cried again, and thunder began to flash in the sky again. Looking at the imposing Thunderbird Jong-dong, Sirius couldn't help but shout, lighter, lighter. Lupin can't stand your strike. Sirius felt the pain for his old friend. That was the thunder of the Thunderbird. Only the werewolf could bear it. If it were him, he would be turned into ashes after being hit. Ah! Thunderbird Jong-dong cried, and then the whole bird quickly fell from the sky. Thunderbird is not just a wizard, the prototype of the family is the golden eagle. The king of the sky. Thunderbird Jong-dong grabbed with his claws, and werewolf Lupin also jumped up and bit towards Thunderbird. Then he was grabbed by the head by Thunderbird and directly lifted to the 5th floor, and then thrown away casually. Pia! Fell directly to the ground. After being thrown like this time, werewolf Lupin could not get up at all. Jong-dong fell from the sky and regained his human form. Seeing that werewolf Lupin on the ground did not turn back to human form because he lost consciousness, Jong-dong shook his head and waved his hand, and a transformation spell turned 2 stones into iron chains, tightly tying Lupin up. Minerva McGonagall, a very beautiful transfiguration, but it's a pity that it's not in class, otherwise I would definitely give it 5 extra points. Dolores Umbridge, it's obviously better to use the speedy confinement here. The chains transformed by transfiguration are not magically blocked, and the werewolf will be able to break free in no time. Minerva McGonagall, that's a normal werewolf. Lupin was hit and thrown, and it's not clear whether he can wake up tonight. Jong-dong naturally saw the barrage, and he admitted that Umbridge was right, but unfortunately, he really doesn't know how to quickly confine. But he does know how to relax and release his strength, which is just right for releasing the fast confinement. Old friend, I have to wrong you again. Sirius skillfully tied up the werewolf Lupin. He hasn't tied him up for more than 10 years, but he is still so skilled. Hermione excitedly gave Jong-dong a big hug, and then, how did you turn into a Thunderbird? This is not scientific at all. Jong-dong smiled, and then said to Hermione, but it's very magical, isn't it? Well, how about I take you to fly in the sky some other day? Yeah. Hermione nodded excitedly. It's a beautiful picture to think about flying in the sky in a Thunderbird. Harry couldn't help but come over and asked, then, can I go with you? Jong-dong, get lost. Okay. Harry ran to Harry's side awkwardly. He actually wanted to fly around too. To read the exciting novels, go to Novel Network. Jong-dong rolled his eyes at him. The Thunderbird-like figure was his animagus. That was him. Hermione was sitting on him, so what was that? Why did you come over here, Harry? James Potter, ha ha ha. Harry, what a fool. A young couple is out having fun, why are you acting like a light bulb? Lily Potter, ah. Harry is good in every way, except his EQ. When will he wake up? Molly Weasley, Harry is still good. Look at my silly child, he's still crying like a mouse. Ron still looked depressed. He was still thinking about Scabbers. Harry didn't try to persuade him this time. He had come to Sirius' side. He also looked at the light screen and knew that Peter's escape would have a certain impact on Sirius. He wanted to comfort Sirius, but at this moment, the real difficulties continued. In the sky, dark shadows suddenly began to sweep over, and a cold breath began to spread. The cold air seemed to freeze all the happiness. Molly Weasley, oh no! It's the Dementors! What's going on? Why are they still here? Arthur Weasley, Cornely Fudge, Minister, you already know that Sirius is innocent. Hurry! Send these Dementors back. Cornely Fudge, I'm already rushing to Hogwarts, but it takes time. It takes time to issue orders. You can't expect these Dementors to understand the light curtain. Dolores Umbridge, that's right, and don't forget, Peter Pettigrew has already run away. There is no evidence to prove Sirius' innocence now, and the Dementors have no reason to stop capturing Sirius. Dementors are not obedient guys, otherwise they would not attack students on the train. And their relationship with the Ministry of Magic is just cooperation. The Ministry of Magic lets them, no Zhao Zhao, guard prisoners, and they devour the prisoners' happiness as dinner. Now the feast is right in front of us, how can you ask them to stop holding their hands with knives and forks? Ho ho ho! Looking at more and more Dementors, Sirius also took out his wand. He also knew the Patronus charm, but with his Patronus charm level, he might not be able to stop these hundreds of Dementors. Snape actually knew the Patronus charm, but he was a little hesitant now. His Patronus was a little sensitive. Once exposed, it might affect his next Voldemort undercover plan. Hermione and the other two were not afraid. Just kidding, after seeing Zhang Dong's lion Patronus, who would be afraid of a group of Dementors? Zhang Dong didn't pay attention to these guys. He waved his wand, and the next second, a lion Patronus more than 10 meters high appeared in the sky. It seems that it's time to teach these Dementors a lesson. Roar! The Nemean lion roared loudly, and all the Dementors were stunned for a moment. However, this time was different from the past. They were not greedy and wanted to have a feast. They were chasing their targets and preparing to have a feast directly. And it's not just a feast. According to the regulations, they can directly enjoy those who hinder their law enforcement. Cornely Fudge, be careful, children. Otherwise, give up Sirius, no one will blame you. For Cornelius Fudge, Sirius's death here is the best result. Let alone, if there is no light screen live broadcast, even if Harry and the others really take Peter Pettigrew back, what awaits them should be the secret execution of Peter Pettigrew and Sirius together. As for the Ministry of Magic, they will only pretend that nothing has happened, still noble and authoritative. Albus Dumbledore, don't worry, Fudge. Zhang Dong and the others will not give up. Moreover, from what I know about him, he will definitely not be the one who suffers. Albus was not in a hurry at all. He even wanted to pour himself a cup of coffee and watch slowly. Roar! Zhang Dong's Patronus roared angrily, and then slapped away 3 or 4 Dementors with his slap, and then swept away 7 or 8 Dementors with his tail. Come on, Zhang Dong! Ron shouted to cheer Zhang Dong up. He wanted to help, but they didn't know the Patronus charm. Woo woo woo! One Dementor after another continued to rush down. Even if they were slapped away, they would turn over and run back without hesitation to continue charging. Zhang Dong was furious when he saw these scenes. Originally I wanted to drive them away, but now, it seems that I should teach them a lesson. This time Zhang Dong simply put down his wand. Minerva McGonagall, what is Zhang Dong doing? Why did he put down his wand? Dolores Umbridge, does he want to cast a spell without a wand to deal with more than 100 Dementors? That's too far-fetched. Does he think he is Dumbledore? Cornely Fudge, he should have thought it through and is ready to retreat with others. This is the wise choice. Zhang Dong, retreat? That's not the case. I just want to ask. Cornelius Fudge, Minister Fudge, Dementors are not considered employees of the Ministry of Magic, right? Cornely Fudge, no. Zhang Dong, that's good, so my attack on them won't be considered an assault on the police. Cornely Fudge, attacking the police? Using the Patronus charm? Haha, don't worry, this kind of repelling and protective spells don't count. That's fine. Zhang Dong put away his wand, looked at the Dementors rushing towards him, and suddenly formed a seal with his hands. What is Zhang Dong going to do? Harry was confused. Looked at Zhang Dong, while Hermione on the side also shook her head and said, I don't know either. Who knows how much magic Zhang Dong knows? Ron also nodded, although I don't know what Zhang Dong is going to do, I know that he must use his ultimate move. Ron was right. The moment his voice fell, the surrounding environment suddenly seemed to freeze. Crack! A sound of broken glass sounded, and cracks appeared in the sky. What happened? Sirius looked at this doomsday scene blankly. But the next scene made him even more stunned. The world began to change, and the ground began to crack. It was not the irregular cracks of an earthquake, but neat small cubes. Then, these cubes actually began to rotate like gears. The flat ground began to stand up, and trees began to float around. Even the thick whomping willow on one side was split into two and then split into 4 parts. But the next second, the 4 whomping willows could be restored to a whole tree. Eep, the whole world changed, constantly changing between disorder and order. Mirror space. Cornely fudge, what kind of magic is this? Confusion spell. Yes, it must be the ultimate confusion spell. This illusion is really good, it's really a hero in youth. Albus Dumbledore, it's not a confusion spell, it's definitely not a confusion spell. When Dumbledore dueled with Credence, that is, Aurelius Dumbledore, he used the perfect confusion spell. No one is more authoritative than him in the confusion spell. He can see that this is definitely not a confusion spell. Gellert Grindelwald, yes, this is not a confusion charm. It looks like an application of space. Traceless stretch mixed with apparition? Maybe there is also a confusion charm. I can't tell. Tom Riddle, what about you? To read the exciting novels, go to Novel Network. Tom Riddle, haha, isn't it just a compound magic? You do this first, then that, and then this again. Isn't that enough? Gellert Grindelwald. Albus Dumbledore. You are really stubborn. The wizards can feel the horror of this magic, but the Dementors cannot feel the power of this magic. They keep rushing towards Sirius, but no matter how they charge, they can never reach Sirius's position. It's so close, but the road is so long. Just stay here. Crack. The broken space was restored, and everything returned to its original state, but all those Dementors disappeared. Mirror space, exile. Cornely fudge, where are the Dementors? Those Dementors, where did they all go? Zhang Dong, what on earth did you do? Fudge was really panicking. Those were Dementors. Without Dementors, how could the Ministry of Magic manage the Wizards of England? Depending on the less than 100 Aurors? And Zhang Dong simply replied, nothing, just sent them out of this world. What Zhang Dong said was literally leaving this world, after all, the mirror space already belonged to another world. But this sentence had a completely different meaning when heard by others. Cornely fudge, you killed them. Zhang Dong, don't you understand what I'm saying? Zhang Dong looked at Cornelius Fudge in the barrage speechlessly. But Cornelius Fudge was not wrong. Although Zhang Dong only exiled the Dementors, no one in the mirror space provided them with food. If they are locked up for 10 days or half a month, they will either suffocate to death or starve to death. Cornely Fudge is so anxious now. He was originally riding the Thestral carriage and heading elegantly towards Hogwarts. But the moment he saw the Dementors being caught by Zhang Dong, he directly used apparition to rush to Hogwarts frantically. He no longer cares about Sirius, he cares about the Dementors. Without the Dementors, those guys in Azkaban will really run away. If a few more run out and kill some more people, will he still be able to sit firmly in his position as Minister of Magic? After dealing with all the Dementors, Zhang Dong turned his head and looked at Sirius and the others in front of him and said, okay, it's done, let's go back to Hogwarts. Yet. Harry and the others kept nodding, only Sirius looked tangled. He looked at Harry again, and then reluctantly said, I'm afraid it won't work. Without Peter, based on my understanding of those guys in the Ministry of Magic, they will never help me change my confession, so Harry. I'm afraid I have to leave first. Hearing Sirius say this, Harry's eyes were slightly red. He finally had his own relatives. Was he going to be separated from him so soon? Harry Potter, James Potter, Lily Potter, Mom and Dad, can I go with Sirius? James Potter, of course. Lily Potter, of course not. James Potter, listen to your mother. Harry Potter, why? Is it because I have to hide with Sirius? It doesn't matter, I can endure hardships. Lily Potter, that's not the point, Harry. In fact, I have set a magic on you. As long as you are with your relatives, those dark wizards can't hurt you. To you. Pierce thickness, what are you afraid of? With the Ministry of Magic, the British wizarding world is the safest place. Antonin Dolohov, hee, we are so mean, how could we hurt a child? Avery Babbage, that's right, we don't have the time to deal with an insignificant child. Bellatrix, ha 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 ha. The Dementors are gone. They are finally gone. Looking at the chaos on the barrage, Harry immediately understood what his mother meant. Although Voldemort is dead, his Death Eaters are still there. Now in Hogwarts, the safest place, of course there is no problem, but once you leave here, they will definitely swarm in and want to kill you. Thinking of this, Harry couldn't help but clench his fists. If he also had the strength of Zhongdong, would he not have to be afraid of anything? Harry's current strength is obviously getting stronger, but his desire for strength is growing day by day. And he is not the only one who feels this way. In fact, the whole Hogwarts students all have this idea to some extent. This may be the pressure brought by Zhongdong, commonly known as King of Rolls. Ron also said with some shame, if Scabbers. I mean Peter Pettigrew didn't run away. Hermione also nodded, and they all felt very sorry at this moment. Almost. Just a little bit. They had already caught Peter Pettigrew. Looking at the group of people who were in low spirits, Zhongdong smiled and said, who said that Peter Pettigrew ran away? What? After hearing Zhongdong's words, everyone couldn't help but look up at Zhongdong excitedly. Could it be? Just when Zhongdong's words fell, Yumi's voice suddenly rang not far away. The final chapter of the magic code. Buzz 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 buzz. Then, 5 rays of light illuminated the night sky. A few minutes later, a cute magic cat flew over with a fat yellow mouse in its mouth and threw the mouse in front of Zhongdong. Zhongdong. I caught it back, meow. Well done, Yumi. I'll reward you with a can of dried fish later. Zhongdong touched the kitten's head, then held Yumi in his arms and rubbed its belly. Yumi lay lazily in Zhongdong's arms, and at the same time looked at Sirius proudly. The meaning was very simple. How about it? I promised you to catch this guy. Did you do it? At this moment, Sirius' eyes were filled with tears. He was not crying because he was about to be vindicated. He was excited because he thought he would never have the chance to avenge James again, but now, this opportunity finally appeared in front of him again. Sirius, imprison quickly. Severus, petrify them all. To read the exciting novels, go to Novel Network. The two of them cast a spell to control Peter Pettigrew. No one except Dumbledore, Grindelwald, and Voldemort could break free from the spells of the 2 top wizards. James Potter, great job. Sirius, buy me 2 cans of dried fish for the cat. Lily Potter, oh my god, that cat is so cute, she is the most beautiful animal I have ever seen. Zero ask for flowers. Newt's Commander, wait. What kind of magical animal is this? How come I don't know? It can even speak human language? Rubius Hagrid, Hagrid, do you know? Rubes Hagrid, I don't know either, but magical animals are magical, aren't they? Just like the blasting-tailed screwit, I dare say you don't know either. Newt's Commander, blasting-tailed screwit? What is that? I really don't know. Hagrid, who was feeding the blasting-tailed screwit in the hunting lodge, proudly puffed out his chest. Of course you don't know, this is the magical animal I just cultivated. I believe this smart, cute, and beautiful blasting-tailed screwit will be very cute. It will definitely give the wizarding world a little shock. The light curtain disappeared, and the next thing was to take Peter Pettigrew back to Hogwarts. At this moment, Peter Pettigrew was treated like a star. Snape, Harry, Hermione, and Ron all pointed their wands at him. As for Sirius, he was watching over the tightly tied werewolf Lupin. As for Zhongdong, he was already checking his rewards. This time, the video and live broadcast, the rewards can't be weak. Sure enough, the first reward made Zhongdong very satisfied. The Master's video shocked Hermione Granger, and the live broadcast received rewards from Hermione Granger. The rewards were superimposed. Congratulations to the Master for getting the reward, a time converter. It is detected that the master already has a time converter, which has been integrated. Congratulations to the master for receiving the reward, Time Converter Plus. Time Converter Plus, effect, can make the holder travel through time and space in a wider range and stay longer. Time range that can be traveled through, 1883 to present. Cooling time, adjusted according to the used time and range. Travel through time? Why would I travel through so long? Go to the Wu's orphanage in 1926 and kill little Tom directly? That will directly change the future. Wait. 1883. Zhang Dong suddenly remembered something. Dumbledore entered Hogwarts in 1892, which was the year when a certain you-know-who graduated from Hogwarts, which means... Zhang Dong suddenly widened his eyes and took out the time converter he was holding around his neck. At this moment, he seemed to see a name through the time converter. You know who? Zhang Dong. Peter Pettigrew was arrested and brought back. Dumbledore arranged for Percy to take Sirius to the prefect's common room to take a shower. Hermione, Ron, and Harry were taken back to the dormitory by Professor McGonagall. Snape said he was going to prepare some medicine and left in a hurry. As for what medicine he prepared, it was almost possible to guess from Peter Pettigrew's terrified look. Professor Flitwick was responsible for watching over the werewolf's Lupin until he woke up. As for Dumbledore, he personally watched over Peter Pettigrew, and Zhang Dong. The noise was theirs. He didn't care about anything, because at this moment, he was already lost in thought because of his reward. Time converter, maybe it can be called space-time teleporter, which means that Huo Yishi's you-know-who is the one I traveled through. No wonder he never appeared in 400 again after graduation. Zhang Dong quickly accepted this ability. After all, the setting of a time traveler is still one level lower than his identity as a space-time traveler. It's okay once you get used to it. This time converter must not be returned, but how can I legally not return it? Openly rob? Then what's the difference between me and Voldemort? Compensation? 50,000 galleons, do I really have to sell the resurrection quota? Zhang Dong thought while checking his remaining rewards. Although it is definitely inferior to the time converter and a reward, these things are also what others dream of. Congratulations to the host for shocking Remus Lupin with the video he played, and for receiving a reward from Remus Lupin for your live broadcast. The rewards are superimposed, and you get the reward, Wolf Poison Potion, Perfect Edition, Recipe. Wolf Poison Potion, Perfect Edition. A werewolf can control its werewolf form by itself after taking 100 ml, but if it takes 200 ml, the werewolf state will completely disappear. Damn! This is really a perfect wolf poison potion. Zhang Dong couldn't help but exclaimed. Just when he said he had no money, he got something to make money. Although the werewolves are poor, they will definitely spend everything to buy a bottle for this potion. 1 bottle controls the werewolf state, and 2 bottles completely restore it to normal. In this case, 1,000 galleons per bottle is not too much, right? But a firebolt is only 5,000 galleons. 1,000 galleons can allow the Weasley brothers to open a trick shop in Diagon Alley. It is estimated that the werewolves will have to save up these 1,000 galleons for 10 or 8 years. But there is no other way. We can't let Zhang Dong be a saint and give them away for free. They didn't become werewolves because of Zhang Dong, and Zhang Dong's price is definitely a low price. Congratulations to the host for shocking Ron Weasley with the video he played, and your live broadcast has been rewarded by Ron Weasley. The rewards are superimposed, and you get the reward, Magic plus 30. Ron, you can work hard. Look at it yourself. What rewards have you given me besides magic? Congratulations to the host for shocking Harry Potter with the video he played, and your the live broadcast received a reward from Harry Potter, and the rewards are superimposed. You get the reward, Patronus, Stag. Congratulations to the host for playing a video that shocked Severus Snape, and your live broadcast received a reward from Severus Snape, and the rewards are superimposed. You get the reward, Flying. Flying, a magic developed by Tom Riddle. The user does not need a wand or other props, and can fly directly through the flesh. Harry's reward is quite standard, but Snape gave a good reward. Flesh flying, this is a magic that only Voldemort and Snape can do. Congratulations to the host for playing a video that shocked Sirius Black, and your live broadcast received a reward from Sirius, and the rewards are superimposed. You get the reward, Speedy Imprisonment, Ultimate. Top spells are also very good rewards. Congratulations to the host for shocking Peter Pettigrew with the video he played. You get the reward, Ancient Runes, Intermediate. Jong Dong. Damn. Peter Pettigrew, you deserve to be arrested. But Jong Dong also understood. After all, he had already caught it. He couldn't expect him to give him a reward through live streaming. According to Jong Dong's understanding of live streaming, only those who thanked the light curtain live streaming from the bottom of their hearts would be considered as rewards. So, your video has been rewarded by Lily Potter, you get the reward, Potions Talent, Top, to read the exciting novels, go to Falu Novel Network. James Potter, Molly Weasley, Arthur Weasley, Rewards, Ancient Runes, Advanced, Arithmancy, Advanced, Muggle Studies, Advanced. Bill Weasley, Percy Weasley, George Weasley, Fred Weasley, Rewards, Astronomy, Advanced, Herbology, Advanced, Magic plus 20%. The Weasley family is really a top student, these two families are really generous, this is because I saved Ron, right? Jong Dong collected all the rewards with satisfaction, and then looked at Albus Dumbledore in front of him with satisfaction. Principal Dumbledore, if everything is fine, can I go back to sleep? Jong Dong yawned and prepared to go back to the dormitory to sleep. He was very tired tonight. I really don't know why old Dumbledore wanted to keep him. Looking at Jong Dong in front of him, Dumbledore came to him happily and asked, actually, I just want to ask, can I learn the very cool magic you just used? No, I can only use it, not teach it. Oh, then I'm fine. Old Dumbledore felt a little regretful. He has lived for so many years, and his love for magic has not diminished at all. And that magic is really cool. Looking at Dumbledore who looked so sorry, Jong Dong asked helplessly again, can I leave now? Not yet. Why? Because a guest has arrived. If you sleep, he will probably make our Hogwarts restless tonight. Who? Jong Dong was about to ask when he saw a man in a black windbreaker and a bowler hat walking over quickly, and behind him, there were more than a dozen figures in tight clothes holding magic weapons. They all looked unhappy, and they looked like they were going to attack Hogwarts. But seeing this figure, Jong Dong smiled. The victim. No, Minister Cornelius Fudge is here. Ha ha ha. Minister Fudge, it's so late, why are you here? Dumbledore greeted him with a smile, like an old friend reuniting. Cornelius Fudge also immediately returned to his original smile. He first hugged Dumbledore with a smile, and then said politely, I'm really bothering you recently, Albus. I'm here to pick up the two prisoners. It's getting late, so I won't disturb you to rest. Leave Sirius and Peter to us. Fudge looked polite, but his words were not polite at all. Dumbledore certainly understood the meaning of his words, so he smiled and said, I don't have two prisoners here, only Peter. Fudge frowned slightly. What does this mean? There is only one prisoner, Peter, which means that Sirius is not going to be handed over to me. This means that you don't trust me. Albus, Sirius is still a prisoner until his name is cleared. Let me correct 07. Sirius's crime is killing Peter Pettigrew and joining the Death Eaters to betray the Potters. Now Sirius is alive and the Potters have confirmed that he did not join the Death Eaters, so he is no longer a prisoner. Cornelius Fudge, whether he is a prisoner or not depends on what the Ministry of Magic says. Dumbledore, oh, then please trouble the Ministry of Magic to catch him. I don't know where he is. Before Fudge could speak, Gadwin Roberts on the side said, Dumbledore, are you going to protect him? Dumbledore, oh, then please ask the Ministry of Magic to catch him. I don't know where he is. Before Fudge could speak, Gadwin Roberts on the side said, Dumbledore, are you going to protect him? Dumbledore, oh, then please ask the Ministry of Magic to catch him. I don't know where he is. Dumbledore, oh, then please ask the Ministry of Magic to catch him. I don't know where he is. Dumbledore, oh, then please ask the Ministry of Magic to catch him. I don't know where he is. Dumbledore, oh, then. Bridgeold's originally cheerful expression suddenly became serious. I reiterate that Sirius is a free man, and I have no right to control where he goes. You. Gadwin Roberts was about to speak, but Cornelius Fudge on the side raised his hand to interrupt him. Okay Gadwin, I believe that Headmaster Dumbledore will not protect a Death Eater, but I still want to trouble Headmaster Dumbledore. When you see Sirius, please inform him for me. We will hold a public trial of Sirius Black and Peter Pettigrew in the Wizengamot in 3 days. I hope he can be there. Of course, I am very good at finding people. Dumbledore did not refuse this time. The Wizengamot is the highest court in the wizarding world, and it is also the most authoritative court and parliament. Dumbledore is now the chief wizard of the Wizengamot. He was not dismissed until the summer of 1995. With the fair Melia Susan Bones, he is not afraid that Fudge will do something weird. Dumbledore directly handed Peter Pettigrew to Cornelius Fudge. 4 elite Aurors plus 8 ordinary Aurors. If Peter Pettigrew ran away with this lineup, all the members of the Ministry of Magic could really resign. After taking over Peter Pettigrew, Cornelius Fudge turned his head and looked at Zhang Dong and said, "There is one more thing, classmate Zhang Dong, can you return the Dementors to us? Haha, you know, without them, we will really have a little trouble." Listen, when it came to Cornelius Fudge's words, Zhang Dong smiled and said, "Of course, Minister Fudge. Assisting the Ministry of Magic is the duty of every wizard." Ha ha ha. That's great. Fudge breathed a sigh of relief. Although he said it was a small matter, in fact, Peter Pettigrew's matter was nothing compared to the disappearance of all the Dementors. But just as Fudge breathed a sigh of relief, he heard Zhang Dong say, "But Minister Fudge, I just experienced several extremely dangerous fights, and my magic power has been used up. You know, that kind of large-scale magic is very magic-consuming." Cornelius Fudge's face suddenly darkened, and he understood that this was asking for benefits from him. "Ha ha ha, it's okay. We can still afford a few bottles of recovery potion from the Ministry of Magic." No, Minister Fudge, in fact, my large-scale magic consumes soul power. You know, soul power is difficult to replenish, so what does your magic have to do with the soul?" Gadwin, who was responsible for playing the bad guy, stood up again. But Zhang Dong said nonchalantly, "You said it doesn't matter? Can you use the mirror space? If you don't know, how can you define the consumption of the mirror space?" Gadwin paused. "It's over. He is probably the only one in the world who can use that magic. Doesn't it mean what he says?" "Ha ha ha, Gadwin, you are always so uncalm." Cornelius Fudge stood up again, and he asked Zhang Dong in a gentle tone, "How do you think about this? We pay you a batch of galleons, and then you buy the materials to make potions yourself. If you don't know how, we have many good potion masters in the Ministry of Magic. That's not necessary. Professor Snape's potion level is still very good." Zhang Dong also smiled. "Is Minister Fudge still a reasonable person? To read the exciting novel, go to Novel Network." Cornelius Fudge, then, how many galleons are needed for this batch of medicinal materials? "Ha ha ha, I'm so sorry, it's only 100,000 gold galleons, it's a waste." 100,000. X10. All the Aurors present stared at Zhang Dong in front of them with wide eyes. "Do you know what 100,000 galleons means? Dream on. Boy, do you know what the result of blackmailing the Ministry of Magic is?" Gadwin Roberts stood up again, and this time it was not just him, all the Aurors behind him took out their wands and pointed them at Zhang Dong. 100,000 galleons. This is not an attitude to talk about things. But Zhang Dong was not afraid, because behind him, Minerva McGonagall, who had just sent the trio back, Severus Snape, who had just prepared the medicine, and even Sirius Black, who had just taken a shower, just appeared behind Zhang Dong. Although they didn't know what happened, they all stood behind Zhang Dong without hesitation. Although Zhang Dong had few people on his side, his momentum was suddenly, he overwhelmed a group of Aurors from the Ministry of Magic. Dumbledore did not take out his wand, but he spoke. "Cornely, our Hogwarts is not a place suitable for fighting. But Albus, look at your students. Is this the attitude of negotiating?" Cornelius Fudge said coldly, 100,000 galleons. They will never take this money. Also, Albus, didn't you say you don't know where Sirius is? What's wrong with him? Cornelius Fudge pointed at Sirius on the side. But Dumbledore just took off his glasses and wiped them silently. "Alas, I'm old and my eyes are blurry." "Cornelius, who are you talking about? Why can't I see anyone?" Cornelius Fudge. He finally saw that the people in Hogwarts were all in the same group. After hearing what Fudge said, Professor McGonagall and the others realized what had happened. 100,000 galleons. Hearing this number, even Professor McGonagall couldn't help asking Zhang Dong, "What do you want so much money for?" Zhang Dong immediately said with an innocent look, it can't be helped, Professor McGonagall. You know, in order to study well, I applied for all the elective courses, and the school also applied for a time converter for me. But in the battle just now, my time converter was destroyed by those Dementors. According to the contract, I have to pay this money. That doesn't cost 100,000. 50,000 galleons is enough. Cornelius Fudge couldn't help shouting out. How could he not know the value of the time converter? Wait, that's not right. Those Dementors didn't even touch you. How did they destroy the time converter? If Cornelius Fudge still doesn't understand what Zhongdong means now, he has lived in vain for so many years. It turns out that this kid wants the Ministry of Magic's time converter. Cornelius Fudge quickly weighed the situation in his mind. Although they had 4 elite Aurors and 1 ordinary Auror, and he believed that Dumbledore, McGonagall, Snape and others would definitely not go against the Ministry of Magic for a student. At most, there would be one more serious. And Zhongdong had just experienced a big battle and was weak. 12-2, the advantage is mine. And after all, he is just a child, so it should be enough to scare him. Looking at Fudge's face, all the Aurors raised their wands in an instant. Principal Dumbledore, Dementors are the wealth of the Ministry of Magic. It is illegal to detain Dementors privately. I hope Hogwarts will not interfere. Fudge himself felt awkward when he said this. Detain Dementors? What a niche word. Looking at Fudge's actions, the people behind Zhongdong were not afraid at all. However, Zhongdong was not prepared to drag everyone into the water. He directly took out a stone the size of a fingernail from his arms and said, Minister Fudge, I am now reasoning with you, but if you don't want to reason with me, then I also know a little magic. Looking at Zhongdong's actions, all the Aurors present couldn't help laughing. A 13 or 14-year-old child wants to fight with them. Who can be scared? But they couldn't laugh the next second. Looking at the group of people like this, Zhongdong shook his head helplessly, and then threw the stone in his hand to the ground. Buzz! Instantly, the stone began to swell, first growing hands and feet, then a head, and then 5 senses. No, it should be 4 senses, because the resurrected person has no nose, which looks particularly funny. However, no one present laughed out loud, because everyone knew this person. Voldemort. Thunderbolt explosion. Expelliarmus. Fall to the ground. Burning flames. He fired spell after spell at Voldemort without hesitation. Voldemort was also puzzled. He was dying well, but when he opened his eyes, he came here, and then saw a group of Aurors attacking him with wands. How could he bear this? Although he didn't have a wand, Voldemort still quickly cast a wandless spell to protect himself from the attacks. It must be said that Voldemort is really powerful. You guys! I'm going to kill you! Before Voldemort finished speaking, he saw Zhongdong's most annoying face appear in front of him, and then he waved his hand, and he knew nothing. But in the eyes of others, they clearly saw that Zhongdong waved his hand, and the aggressive Voldemort just now turned back into a stone and returned to Zhongdong's hand. Gudong! The sound of swallowing saliva sounded, and at this moment, no one could make a sound. Voldemort, the man who dared not even use his name, was summoned and dismissed by this kid like this? In fact, it was not summoned and dismissed. After all, Zhongdong's magic resurrection stone only resurrected, not controlled, but it made no difference to them. Do you really think that Voldemort will let them go after resurrection? Silence, death silence. After 5 minutes, Cornelius Fudge finally said a sentence in a trembling voice. That stone. Resurrection stone. Zhongdong only said a name, and the group of people were all silent. The name is so straightforward. Combined with the picture just now, if you can't guess what ability it is, you'd be a fool. There was another silence. After a long time, Cornelius Fudge said, the stone should be handed over to the Ministry of Magic. And maybe one day, Voldemort will be resurrected in the Ministry of Magic. To read the exciting novel, go to Falu Novel Network. Cornelius Fudge. Forget it, I can't afford it. Looking at the frightened look of a group of people, Zhongdong said, I think we can talk now. Zhongdong is no longer the boy who had to be cautious even when dealing with Quirrell. Next year is the Goblet of Fire. He is now taking out the magic resurrection stone to tell these bullies. Don't mess with me if you have nothing to do, otherwise, he doesn't mind destroying the whole of England. He has the ability to do so. Of course. Cornelius Fudge was worthy of being the Minister of Magic. He was the first to react at the critical moment. The time converter was destroyed by the Dementors. We have the obligation to be responsible for this matter. We don't want the time converter. Looking at Fudge's reaction now, Zhang Dong was satisfied and took back the magic resurrection stone. What Ai Gong said was right. Dignity is only on the edge of the sword, and truth is only within the range of the cannon. Voldemort is the mushroom bomb of the wizarding world. And it is a mushroom bomb that can only be used by Zhang Dong, Wang Zhao. Cornely Fudge left in disgrace, and now he just wanted to stay away from Zhang Dong, the time bomb. He even worried about Zhang Dong's safety. He was really afraid that someone would provoke Zhang Dong and let Zhang Dong resurrect the terrible guy Voldemort. Zhang Dong was very satisfied that he didn't have to return his time converter. Snape was very satisfied because he witnessed the miracle of resurrection with his own eyes. Sirius was very satisfied because he knew that his grievances could be redressed. Even Cornelius Fudge was very satisfied because he at least brought back the Dementors and Peter Pettigrew alive. Only one person was very dissatisfied now. In the underworld, Voldemort looked blankly at the top of his head. Who is he? Where is he? What did he do just now? Oh, by the way, he seems to have resurrected again. Oh, why do you say again? Resurrected once a year. Zhang Dong, this guy. Do you really think he is disposable? Cornely Fudge was gone, and Zhang Dong was satisfied and ready to go back to the dormitory to sleep. However, Dumbledore still reminded Zhang Dong, although your stone is magical, it is better not to resurrect Tom if it is not necessary, otherwise, my heart may be bad. Even if Dumbledore knew that Zhang Dong had the magic resurrection stone, he almost couldn't help but pull out the Elder Wand to hit him when he saw Voldemort resurrected just now. And Zhang Dong just smiled, and then said, it's just for now, maybe it won't be used in the future. The magic resurrection stone can resurrect the dead, but if Voldemort has been resurrected in the Goblet of Fire next year, then his magic resurrection stone will naturally not be able to be used to resurrect him. Of course, Zhang Dong can still stop Voldemort from resurrecting, but it is not necessary. If he is stopped once, he can be resurrected a second time. It is better to let him resurrect and then completely kill him. After all, the bones of a father, the flesh of a servant, and the blood of an enemy are all easy to get. If Voldemort didn't want to use Harry's blood to break the magic of love left by Lily, wouldn't it be easy for him to find an enemy? Voldemort's enemies in the whole of England must be at least 800 if not 1000. Zhang Dong thought so and was about to leave, but at this moment, Snape suddenly grabbed Zhang Dong and said, Zhang Dong. You. Snape was a little nervous. He had only begged once in his life and he really didn't know how to start. But soon, he calmed down his excitement and said, how can I get your stone? Looking at Snape in front of him, Zhang Dong already knew who he wanted to resurrect. Who else could it be? For some reason, Zhang Dong suddenly asked, what are you going to give in return? Hearing Zhang Dong's answer, Snape was stunned and turned to ecstasy. Since Zhang Dong said so, everything can be discussed. He said almost without hesitation. My everything. Oh. Dumbledore on the side covered his face speechlessly. Severus, you really can't bargain at all. You're going all in right away. Aren't you waiting to be ripped off? Zhang Dong smiled. In fact, he had known that there would be such a day. He knew it would be like this since he felt Snape's attitude towards him suddenly changed. But resurrecting Lily? It seems pretty good. You don't have to pay for everything. How about this, 100,000 gold galleons, this price is definitely not expensive. 100,000. Of course. Snape agreed without hesitation, as if he was afraid that Zhang Dong would regret it a second later. 8J, but at this moment, Sirius on the side suddenly said, wait. Zhang Dong. If possible, I also want to get this stone, and I can also give everything I have. After hearing Sirius' words, Snape almost killed someone. You can guess who this guy wants to resurrect with your toes. James Potter. That annoying guy. And Sirius looked at Snape fearlessly, he was not afraid of this guy. In terms of strength, they were equally matched. In terms of wealth, although Snape, the potion master, was quite rich, he had as much money in Gringotts as him. Severus Snape, Sirius. Why did you jump out to make trouble? What's so good about resurrecting that lunatic James? James is not crazy. You are the one who is crazy. He has been fighting for justice in his heart all his life. He has never wavered. And who said I want to resurrect James? I want to resurrect Lily too. Hey! Snape was dumbfounded. No, you want to resurrect Lily, why did you jump out? It's not a mess, it doesn't matter who you resurrect. You? Want to revive Lily? Of course. Sirius said as a matter of course, although James and I have a good relationship, it is precisely because I know him too well. If he knew that I had such an opportunity but resurrected him but not Lily, he would definitely not be happy. Sirius could almost imagine what James would say at that time. Sirius, compared to resurrecting me, Lily is more suitable for resurrection. She is stronger, better, and gentler than me. Moreover, Harry has always lacked maternal love. In addition, this is also a man's responsibility. You must understand me, Sirius. James would definitely say that, because he is such a person. Then you just watch from the side. Why did you jump out? Snape was about to curse. This guy, it turned out that he could never like him. Sirius sneered at him and said, "Don't think I don't know what you want to do, Snape. Besides, I am Harry's godfather, and I am more qualified to pay this money than you. Is Sirius short of money? Just kidding, he has as much money as Snape in Gringotts. He picked up 100,000 galleons." Looking at the two men like this, Zhang Dong couldn't help but shout in his heart. Fight! Fight quickly! Zhang Dong really wanted to know who was more powerful between the two. The only time the two fought in the original book was when Snape was hung upside down by James, but that was not because Snape was weak, but because he was fighting James and Sirius at the same time. It would be strange if he could win. However, Dumbledore still did not let the two fight. He came to the two and said, "You two, shouldn't you listen to Harry's opinion?" "I'm right, Harry." After Dumbledore finished speaking, he waved his hand, and a breeze blew directly to a corner. To read the exciting novel, go to Novel Network. Swish! The invisibility cloak was lifted, and Harry looked at everyone in front of him awkwardly. Well, he just went back to the dormitory and sneaked out. Just kidding, he just found his godfather and found his enemy again. You let him sleep so quietly? Except for the heartless Ron, who can sleep well. Looking at Harry, Professor McGonagall couldn't help but turn her face away. She knew that Harry was just causing trouble for her every day. Looking at Harry, Snape said reflexively. "Gryffindor deduction, ahem." Perhaps thinking that Harry was in the initiative now, he said, "I mean, Harry, you should have understood the current situation. I ask you, are you willing to resurrect your gentle, kind, and beautiful mother?" "Of course." Harry did not hesitate, "But I want to pay 200,000 and resurrect my parents at the same time." Snape and Sirius rolled their eyes at the same time. How precious is a resurrection quota? Look at what Voldemort has done to himself in order to resurrect. Zhang Dong only wants 100,000 galleons. This amount of money looks amazing, but it is definitely a friendship price. They all appreciate it. Zhang Dong didn't say anything. He couldn't say that this resurrection quota was really not valuable. If he hadn't cheated Fudge, he would have sold it for 50,000 gold galleons. Seeing everyone's expressions, Harry said awkwardly, "Then I'll pay for it. The money I have in Gringotts should be enough. My mother must want me to be resurrected. How can it be your turn to pay?" It was decided that Harry would take the 100,000 galleons, which was reasonable and no one had any objection. It was just that Professor McGonagall was a little envious. She actually wanted to revive her partner, but it was 100,000 gold galleons. Even if she was the headmaster of Hogwarts Gryffindor, she would have to save up for 10 or 8 years to save up the money, but she was almost 60 this year, and she would probably go directly to the underworld after waiting for a few decades. Zhang Dong put the magic resurrection stone on the ground, and then borrowed a set of wizard robes from Professor McGonagall to cover it. There was no other way. Zhang Dong could revive people but not clothes. He couldn't let Lily revive naked in front of so many people. As for why he didn't think of it when he resurrected Voldemort just now? Voldemort was naked, so who would want to see him if he looked like that? Zhang Dong's mind moved, and the next second, Harry saw a figure appear in front of him. She was not absolutely beautiful, but in Harry's eyes, she was the most beautiful woman he had ever seen. She did not move, but in Harry's eyes, she exuded a gentle breath. She opened her clear and beautiful green eyes, and the moment he saw them open, Harry felt that he had stopped breathing. The same thing happened to Snape beside him, but the emotional background of the two was different. Lily opened her eyes and looked around, and her eyes almost immediately fell on Snape. Harry beside her. This is Harry. Hearing Lily's voice, Harry finally couldn't control his movements anymore. He ran directly to Lily and instantly threw himself into her mother's warm embrace. And Lily also reached out and hugged Harry back. Both of them were trembling. The two brave men who were not afraid of Voldemort had already cried red eyes at this moment. The two of them embraced each other, and every second was like a bright pearl, shining with the light of happiness. Professor McGonagall couldn't help but wipe the tears from the corners of her eyes. Dumbledore handed her a tissue, and Professor McGonagall couldn't help but say after taking it. Alas! I'm old. I can't bear to see these. Yes, I'm old. Dumbledore also remembered the scene when he reunited with Ariana. No matter how many times he has seen it, this kind of warmth of resurrection from the dead will make him feel endless love and warmth. Love is really the most precious wealth in our lives, right, Severus? Dumbledore looked at Snape, who was already dazed at this time. He also wanted to rush over and hug Lily, but Sirius beside him stared at him, as if he would turn into a dog and bite you to death if you dare to move. And Snape also knew that in his current situation, it was not appropriate for him to go over and hug Lily. Long time no see, Professor McGonagall, Headmaster Dumbledore, Sirius, and Severus. Lily's voice sounded this sentence instantly excited Snape. He looked at her, she was still so beautiful, and she was only 21 years old when she died. Lily finally let go of Harry, but she still held Harry's hand tightly, and Harry did the same, fearing that his mother would disappear if he let go. Lily came in front of everyone, and she greeted everyone warmly. Long time no see, Principal Dumbledore, Professor McGonagall, you are still so energetic, Sirius, you are still clean and elegant, and Severus. When she said this, Lily looked at Snape's face and said, you have aged a lot. Yes, Harry is only 13 years old, which means that Snape is only 34 years old this year. What on earth has he experienced to make a 34-year-old man so vicissitudes? Sirius was also 34, but he looked old because of the 12 years of torture in Azkaban. Lupin looked old because of the moonlit nights every month, Peter Pettigrew looked old because he was born old, and Snape looked old because his heart was dead, so he didn't care about his appearance. Lily's words made Snape panic. To read the novel, go to Novel Network. He suddenly regretted why he didn't change into a new set of clothes when he went out today, he suddenly regretted why he didn't wash his hair when he went out today, he suddenly regretted. Zero, please give me flowers. But Lily still smiled and said to him, thank you for protecting Harry, Severus. Harry's broom lost control because Snape cast the counterspell. Harry was in danger because Snape was the first to arrive, although Sirius and Lupin were not actually in danger. No. You're welcome. Snape was a little confused when he spoke. Harry on the side couldn't help rolling his eyes. He didn't feel that Snape had done anything good to him. The joy of reunion is always cheerful. After all, it was already dark. Harry was taken back to the dormitory by Professor McGonagall. By the way, his invisibility cloak was confiscated and he was told to give it to him tomorrow. Sirius was still guarding Lupin, who had turned into a werewolf, in Lupin's office. He didn't know if Lupin would regret slapping himself when he woke up tomorrow and knew that he had missed so many things. Lily was arranged to stay in Professor McGonagall's dormitory for one night. She said that she was going to buy a house in London tomorrow, and Harry could live with her in London in the future. Snape went to buy shampoo, laundry detergent and shower gel overnight, ready to clean up. As for Dong, he had already fallen asleep with Yumi in his arms. Sirius was vindicated. Under the strict scrutiny of the Ministry of Magic, Peter Pettigrew's crimes were finally exposed to everyone. He was sent to Azkaban, and what awaits him will be the horrible Dementor's kiss. Minister of Magic Cornelius Fudge apologized to Sirius in the Daily Prophet on behalf of the previous Minister of Magic Millicent Bagnall, and compensated Sirius 12,000 galleons as compensation for being imprisoned for 12 years. Sirius bought an owl for Ron, a complete set of Transfiguration magic books for Hermione, and 2 fire bolts for Harry and Dong. Holding the fire bolts given by Sirius, Dong felt helpless. If you had given it to me earlier, could I have given it to Zhongqiu directly? But this still caused a commotion in the whole Hogwarts. After all, even a national team like the Bulgarian Quidditch team only had 7 firebolts, and you, a Hogwarts, now had 3, which was really a bit of bullying. If you enjoy the content of this channel, subscribe, like, and comment, to help this channel to grow.